going on in the world today. Every time Dick and Harry got something to say, but what they said ain't got no fabric to it. Yay takes and thoughts with dice right through it. It's all about rumors and people feuding. If we're not uplifting, then what we doing? Yeah, they love the culture, yet they trying to wreck it. But are we ready to go hard to protect it? If we don't stand firm, then we're sure to fall. Are you ready to fight the stain and accept the call? Oh, it's all about dealerships and the mall. Now I'm ready to go for broke like Apostle Paul. I'm charged with the task to keep it real. Moving straight forward, not about to yield. Tackling every subject, yeah, you know the drill. R.I.P. Guru, I bring that mass appeal. Our ancestors stood tall despite abuse. We got all the tools, so what's our excuse? It's time to show a face and take off the mask. It's something every yay, it's the podcast. 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 What it do, what it do, what it do. Welcome to another episode of It's Something Every Yay, the podcast. I'm your host, Danye F. Jones. This is episode 42, James Worthy style, episode 42. Yeah, you know, I came on last week and fought that virus. But like I told my guest, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. So we got a special show. I'm not going to prolong it. I've been trying to do this for a minute, but schedules, we were unable to work it out, but God. That's all I'm going to say, but God. So, you know, we got to do our little house cleaning things real quick. Like I always say, if you have not subscribed, no, you got to do that. Go to YouTube, Danye F. Jones. It's Something Every Day, the podcast. Just go to Danye F. Jones. You will see the joint. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Costs you absolutely nothing. I know you hear the word subscribe. People think it's loot because everybody trying to get money. Nah, ain't no loot. Just click it, hit the bell, get your notifications. Every time I drop something, you will know what's up. Also, I want you guys to go to Love Jones Legacy, www.theparsimonian.com/Love Mall. You know, it's a virtual mall. It's a lot of stores in there, but you know, I need you to focus on the Love Jones Legacy. Ladies, it's summertime now, baby. You might as well go and say it's summertime. A lot of things you can get. She has dresses, skirts, pantsuits, business suits, bras, blouses, dusters, gowns, shoes, purses, jewelry, you name it. Plus sizes, petite sizes at a very, very, very economical price. Where her motto is, you could pay more, but why should you? So go to the Parsimonial Mall, Love Jones Legacy, a lot of great items there. Also, try to check out my boy on Thursday night, Kevin Marshall, More Than a Coach podcast. Awesome brother, have some great guests. I got to promote he do this Saturday show. He think he a DJ now, but he be jamming. I ain't going to lie. He be doing this thing, but definitely you want to do that. And also, him and his wife, they have also a show that comes on Sunday night, the Mr. and Mrs. Marshall podcast. Awesome couple. They would tell you they are not certified marriage counselors. They're not even trying to be. They're just talking to you about love, life, and relationships and what they do to keep their marriage going. I think they've been married, 30 years now. Awesome, fun couple. And it's live. You can interact with them. Fun couple. And the wife, Joya, she got her own gig now, her show. I'm going to promote that once I get, more information. But yeah, definitely check them out. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing started because, like I said, I've been trying to put this together for a minute. This is a brother that you should know. Is a coach you should know. It's funny how we met, but I'll get into that a little bit later. But it's hard for me to have conversations about basketball with people because I get frustrated. I've literally have sat in the barbershop before. Uh, as he said, barbershop, I ain't got no hair. I'm talking from my beard, y'all. So if I'm sitting there and if I'm like three up and if the conversation get too stupid, I gotta leave. I can't. I can't because I know I can't add nothing to ignorance. You can say one thing that's I'll be like, so when I find somebody who really can talk hoops, oh, I'm excited. So I love the game. It's a beautiful game. I think it's the best game in the world. And this brother here, not only he's an awesome coach, he's just an awesome man. And we're gonna definitely get in. So y'all know I'm long-winded, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring this brother in right now. I'm gonna introduce this brother here. It's Melvin Hunt. Melvin Hunt, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. What's going on, my man?
Yeah, you got the better hand.
And
So
hold on. Before you get into your little host, the hostess with the mostest and all that good stuff, I gotta start it off this way. All y'all on the squad, if you know, you know. Hey,
listen, y'all. Listen, y'all have no idea what that is. Listen, and listen. Make sure you bring it up again because I'm gonna explain that whole thing, man. That was and the fact that that was. Listen, y'all. If y'all know me, I love ninja stuff,
yes.
except when it comes to business.
Right.
I don't do ninja stuff in the business. I mean, nah, but regular stuff, I think it's hilarious because
Yes.
it's real, it's authentic, it's organic. But yeah, you stupid, man.
Hey man, my wife of 29 years, she knows it and she'll say it to me every now and then, just walking in the house. She just break out with it. It's part of the Hunt fabric right now.
Oh wow, that is crazy, and that's some sag nasty stuff. We're gonna
Yeah,
talk
that's
about that in a few.
fantastic.
All right, y'all. This brother here, Melvin Hunt, we're gonna get to everything what he's about and everything because it's kind of extensive. But first of all, Melvin, where were you born?
Tall city, baby. Tallulah, Louisiana. The real
Oh,
LA.
okay, so you was born in Tallulah.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is what I'm trying to understand. How did you make it to Flint?
Like a whole lot of folks. I don't have a unique story on that. The North, Flint, Dayton, Gary, Indiana, all those places were the promised land for Black folks. My mom and dad graduated from Grambling. They graduated. I was a little baby, and like they say in the movies, there's jobs up in those up north. There's jobs. There's work
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
So like most folks, they went where the opportunity was. They braved the cold, and we just went. My dad was a General Motors dude.
okay,
You know how some people say, I'm a military kid. Well, I'm not a military kid. I was a General Motors kid.
yeah.
We went to Flint purely because of General Motors. My mom was a school teacher, and so it was opportunity, for a young married Black family to move up north, and we went. That's what we did.
Okay, so how long did you all stay in Flint?
Oh man, we got there in the early 70s and left like early to mid 80s. So all of my
Okay,
formative years were right there in Flint.
okay. So that means you left there probably around the seventh or the eighth grade.
I think I left in the 8th grade. 8th grade I left.
Okay. Now, had you stayed in Flint, what high school would you have attended more than likely?
That's pretty good. I lived, I had a unique situation. I lived on the Flint Northern and Flint Northwestern border, but my mom taught school at Flint Central. So I could have gone to either of the three. Within the rules, I could have gone to either one of them.
So, just in hindsight, right now, not thinking as the Melvin at your age now,
Right.
at that time, because like your friend, where you think you probably would have gone to be in that eighth grade mind?
In those three levels, it probably would have been Flint Central, eking out Northwest and then Northern.
Okay,
Hey, boy, don't you do that to me.
okay,
You do that
yeah,
to
yeah, because I had cousins who went to Northwestern. In fact, one of them graduated in '84, Jeff Gray and them. And the other cousin graduated in '85 with Glenn Rice and them. So yeah,
my mom taught all of them when she was in that school district, and then when she went over to Central, like Glenn we lived on the same street, Fleming Road. Glenn lived about a 3 minute sprint, a 5 minute jog from my house.
Okay, so that means your mother did for junior high, whatever. Did she teach at what's that school? Is it Gundry?
That's a good one. She taught at Bryant Elementary. She taught at Whittier over at
Okay.
Central.
Okay.
She also taught high school. She taught at Flint Northwestern.
Oh, okay.
Taught at Flint Northwestern for a good little while, and then she ended up getting transferred over to Central.
Okay. So at this point, do you like Flint? I mean, are you straight? What?
Man, I cried like a baby. I ain't going. I cried like a baby when he had to leave. Man, I cried like a baby. Hey, listen. Let me tell you what this was my plan was. I wasn't telling nobody, but my plan was I'm gonna be the first athlete to play football like Anthony Carter. I was gonna do
Yeah.
my thing at Michigan, and then I was gonna find a way to transfer and hoop at Michigan State.
Oh, you would have been hated, brother.
Yeah. Hey, that was my little plan, man. I mean, I cried like a baby, literally, when I found out that we were leaving. But it was one of the best things for me to be able to have lived in Flint and then moved to Louisiana.
Okay, so you guys pack up. Y'all go back to Tallulah, the stomping grounds. Although in your mind, stomping grounds is Flint in your mind, but originally it's Tallulah's your stomping ground. So obviously, so you left Tallulah as a baby, right?
Yeah, yeah, I was
So
a baby.
so Tallulah might as well could have been Nebraska or anywhere else. You didn't really know anything, right?
Well, you know, typical family. I spent every summer in Louisiana. I was
So,
the
so
light skinned, I was the light skinned, good looking dude. They used to come down, and all my boys was like, "Who is this? Who is this light skinned brother?" And the girls was like, "Oh, wait," So I was special because I was new every
yeah,
summer, every
yeah,
summer.
that's
Yeah.
tripped out. You're right because I tell people like we didn't go like on to Disney.
Vacation.
Like that. We went to Louisiana every summer. That's where we went. We
That's what
went to
you do.
Louisiana. My mom and daddy from Louisiana, so mama went to Graham and father from Southern. So we went going down south. So all right. So you kind of you had some familiarity of Tallulah. So
Sure.
okay. So here we go. So you end up. So obviously we get down there. You ready to enter high school, right?
I'm in eighth grade. I'm in the eighth grade. It's the
Well,
middle
it
of
was
my
in the middle of the year, or
middle. I mean, literally right in the middle of the first semester. We got
oh, okay,
and my mom was teaching at the high school at
okay,
McCall High School, and we had two little high schools, McCall and Tallulah High. And long story short, she didn't want me district wise. I lived in the Tallulah High district,
okay.
and she was gonna make me go there because that's what district we lived in, and and I didn't want to go there because all my partners, all our
Exactly.
boys,
Right,
Gina, they were actually at McCall, and so
right.
that's where I wanted to go. But she caught me one morning, like the first week of school. She caught me one morning walking to school, and I didn't catch. I missed the bus because it was hard to catch the bus because I wasn't really in that district. So I was trying to get there, and she's like, "Nope, just go to Tallulah," and I hated it. No,
Okay,
I hated it because all my boys was across town, and it just it was a good thing that I got caught because I ended up going to Tallulah High and I was there for a short time. Check this out. Played part of the season, part of their little eighth
oh
grade
wow.
season, put in work, put in that work. And I had my game was advanced. And so I was putting in work and let's just say some of the staff they treated some kids differently than others. I mean, this is the '80s now. This is the early '80s, so
Right,
they treated like you could get paddled.
yeah,
Corporate. That was all real. And
right.
so I had a little incident, and I was a pretty good student. Um, but had a little incident. My mom found out. The gentleman called me out my name, and he
Okay.
didn't. But he had a cool name. It was a cool name. Actually, the word I never forget was hobgoblin. Have you ever heard of that word?
Yes, yes, I have.
I hadn't heard. I had to do some Google searching.
Yeah.
But he called his starting lineup, which was all black kids, 5 black kids. He called us. He said, "Listen," he said, "I almost lost the game for y'all today." He said, "But I knew when I put my hobgoblins back in the game,
Wow.
y'all went to work." And so I'm sitting here. It was so innocent. I told my mama. I told him, yeah, you can imagine. I told my mom that night. I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Coach said that we played good." He said, "But I'm just saying it like it's regular." I said, and Coach said, "Yeah." He said the game turned when I put my hobgoblins back. She said, "What you say?" My mama,
Right.
"What did you?" And I said, "He said us hobgoblins." My mama went that next day. She wanted that smoke.
Yeah.
And from that day, I mean, the next day she was ready to move hands, but she liked a new
Mhm.
job.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
and so she just enrolled me at McCall High School across town, and the rest is history.
Well, yeah, because I know some of the foods as in McCall, so you fit right in because
Right
you.
in. I was definitely, truth be told, I thought it was hobgoblin-ish.
Yeah, so he was wrong, but he was right,
He
but he
was
was
right.
wrong.
Oh man.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So now, in terms of McCall High, so basketball. When did you start playing varsity?
Old school again. The division was 10th, 11th, 12th was high school. 7th, 8th, 9th
89 was your old school, yeah.
was junior high. Was because they truly called it. Remember, they called it junior high,
Junior
and then
high, right?
middle school. And then they started changing names. Well, I would have played varsity as a ninth grader, but we were at the junior high school,
Hmm.
so I couldn't play varsity. I played junior high, and we were the first class when they moved us up as ninth graders up to the high school. They switched the rules. They brought the eighth graders up, the ninth graders up with us. So the ninth graders who were going to be 10th graders went up, and then the eighth graders who were going to be ninth graders, and they had more traditional ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th. The year
Okay.
that I moved up, but I played the 3 years. I would have played four. Um, Probably wouldn't have started I wouldn't have started as a freshman. I was just physically I wasn't made for it, but I could play. I could play the dude on your back wall, the guy who you like, and
Yes,
then I
sir.
like. That was I could pass the rock, so people wanted to play with me. So I would have played as a freshman, but just because of the way the school was set up, I played junior high and then played 3 years of high school.
Okay. So when did you start getting recognition as a pretty good basketball player in high school?
My 10th, it was funny. My the first year I got up there in 10th grade, um, me and our boy Jimmy, we was on the JV. And the coach at the time, Coach Guthrie, G's
Okay.
that
Yeah.
he loved me. I mean, he loved me. He's that boy right, that Hunt boy. You know,
Yeah.
he really liked me. And so we had a jamboree. I never forget it. Yay.
Hold on,
You know,
hold on. Wait a minute. You got to think. People ain't from Louisiana.
I'm
What
tripping.
is what is a jamboree?
You invite a handful of schools, and it's like a scrimmage session before your
Mhm.
season, and you play each one about a half, and you kind
Yeah.
of rotate your opponent. And it's a
Mhm.
cool way to get a chance to go against some fresh bodies, and it
Yeah.
not count against your record. But you're right. I did throw that out there like it was
Right.
common knowledge. You're right, a
Right.
jamboree. But we,
Right.
we, were, we were in the scrimmage game, and in the warm up, I had never dunked. I dunked one time, like a little fingernail, like a little Manny Petty dunk. My
Yeah.
fingernails barely grazed that rim in junior high. But in 10th grade, in the warm up, man, it must have been one or two little ugly little girls, little snagger girls in the stands. Because I had a bunch of adrenaline, and
Yeah.
I went in and punched one. And Jimmy was like, "Yo, Mel,
Yeah.
did you?" And I dunked again. I just kept dunking the whole warm up. And Coach Guthrie, he was excited because I could jump, and he was playing me. He was going into the season. I had a nice spot with the varsity, and he got fired the night before our season started.
Really?
And they brought up Coach Riggs, who's like our father. Jimmy, you
Okay. So what position did Coach Riggs have at this point?
he was a junior high coach. He was a
Wow.
junior.
I never knew that.
Yeah, Coach Riggs was a junior high coach, and there was like a groundswell of people that wanted Coach Riggs to be the high school coach. Coach Guthrie had done a good job, but people wanted Coach Riggs,
Okay.
and I just think they were ready to move on from Coach G,
Yeah.
and they did. It was kind of a weird deal how they did it. Like I mean, literally, man. Yeah, I'm not joking. The night before the season, they
Wow.
let Coach G go, and we went through early season practice, the jamboree with Coach G, and so I was loving Coach G because I was going. I mean, I was in the rotation like
Yeah.
I was borderline starter. I may
Yeah.
have been a starter. I may have been a starter, but they fired him, and they brought Coach Riggs up from the junior high. So everybody just figured Coach Riggs was my boy. You know, I just finished playing for him. They just knew, oh, Mel gonna start. Coach Riggs came in first day, moved me right to the bench.
Oh wow.
My dude, this is my dude to this
Yeah.
day. He moved me right
Yeah.
to the
Shout
bench,
out to Coach Riggs. He's got inducted to the Hall of Fame, didn't he?
and I went a year ago.
Oh,
I
praise
went.
God.
I pulled up.
Yeah.
With Baton Rouge, yeah,
Yeah.
he was, and he was ready. I mean, it was, he was due. He should have been in, but
Yeah.
that's there. But Coach Riggs moved me right to the bench because physically, I mean, I was okay, but I was small.
Yeah.
Um, so he moved me right to the bench and moved Dirk Winston, who was a man, who was a man. They were all seniors. You know all of them. Leck,
Yeah.
they were all seniors, and
So you say small, you mean as far as your frame or your height?
both. I was well. I was probably I was flirting with 6 feet, 5'11",
Yeah. Okay.
5'11",
Okay.
and thin, man. You saw. I mean, I was thin. When I graduated, I was 168. So
Right.
that's after. Hey, that was after some intense weightlifting to get to 160. Hey, I was in the 150s. But I was
Hmm.
thin, and I didn't know high school basketball.
Right.
And so coach moved me to the bench and actually made me the sixth man. I was like the first guard off the bench, and he moved Dirk into the starting lineup. And everybody just assumed I was going to be a starter. But after we went through a couple games, yeah, you know what
Okay.
happened.
Yeah. Now, um, it's funny because I talked to Jimmy about you guys. Um, so when you would say your senior year, that's when you feel y'all was legitimate state champion threats your senior year because like so who's that starting lineup?
Man, I tell you what, we were deadly my junior year, but we really
Okay.
didn't. And we had some selfishness because it was a little weird, the dynamic. God is a God of order, and we were a
Right.
little bit out of order. You had underclassmen starting, and some of the, it's hard to be a backup, man. It's hard for a senior to be my
Back up.
backup. And
Yeah.
in fact, my sophomore year, my older brother Marvin, I don't know if you've ever met Marvin, but Marvin went to Grambling, but Marvin, he quit playing basketball his senior year. I was a sophomore and I wanted to play with him, but he quit because he knew he was going to be my backup.
Okay.
The ego can't handle that, and
Yeah.
I would have made him play because I
Right.
mean he was my idol. That's why I
Right.
mean I love my big brother, but we were a little out of order my junior year, man.
Okay.
We had the younger myself and Honey Bun.
I,
I
I
just
always hear the name.
I just throw it out there like just me and Honey.
Yeah. No, well, see, I know because I remember you guys talking about him. It was I can't remember, but there was a clip I had saw. I just remember some dude had some long arms, and I don't know. Jimmy had brought a clip, and I remember I remember some dude with some long arms.
Man, he was Sidney Moncrief.
Oh,
He
okay.
was Sidney I mean, he would pick you. I mean, he had these long arms. He wouldn't. He had a jumper, line drive. I mean, just jump shot, could jump. Never would show it. Never would
Okay.
show it. I mean, athlete, man. And watch this. He was a doggone drum major.
Oh wow.
They tried to get me and Bun to be drum majors. He actually did it because we were tall and slim. But
Mhm.
my senior year, back to your original point, my senior year, we felt like we could beat anybody. And even with that, we felt like we could beat anybody at any level, at any like it wasn't just a 2A, 3A, 5A, 4A.
Yeah.
We were as good because we knew we were talented. And we were kind of out of order. We started in the backcourt. Myself and Bum were like 6'2". Me and Honey Bun like 6'2". our small forward, Jesse Harris, was a junior. Jesse was about 5'11", a small
Wow.
forward, maybe 6 feet. Our power forward, Ricky Dunlap, Slick Rick, was about 6'4.5", 6'5", and then our center was Rob Jones at
Okay.
6'2". So, but the thing that was so great about Coach Riggs, and I've told him this many times, man, is I'm forever indebted to him because he always said, I don't. He told the media one time, I don't care how tall Melvin becomes, if he's a point guard, he's a point guard,
Right.
and that really, it gives me goosebumps saying it because that gave me the trajectory to get on the course that I was on because I may have guarded some bigger guys, just out of toughness and whatever,
Yeah.
grit, whatever. But I was a decision maker. I was the guy with the ball in my hands, and he believed in me. And so it didn't matter. Like, my height, I probably should have been a small forward,
Okay.
and I could jump a little bit. So I
Right.
probably should have been small forward, backup, whatever, power forward. But he always played me at point.
Okay. So now, did you get any have any high school accolades because of your play?
Yeah, it's funny. Another one of those jamboree type situations. I think it was my junior year. Had been my junior year. We went up to the big city. Went to Monroe. We're actually in West Monroe, and
Okay.
we played a closed door game, like a closed door scrimmage with like one of the bigger schools in the state. Big school, definitely big, one of the bigger schools in the area, and they had their coach was like a legendary guy. Everybody knew him, a white gentleman. Can't remember. Coach Smith, I think was his name. We played them, and they were like one of the top schools, highly rated. But he wouldn't play us. He wouldn't play us a regular game.
Right. Right.
He didn't want the world to see that.
Yeah, hey, absolutely.
Put the chains on the door. Put the chains on the door. Hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's like, nah, we'll play behind closed doors. And Coach Riggs just wanted us to have an
Just
opportunity to play against people. He,
absolutely.
that was his whole deal. So man, we went up there. Yay, I might have, and I wasn't no scorer, but I probably had 35. I
Okay.
gave them work. For a guy that wasn't a scorer, I was a passer, but
Right.
I worked and that dunks. Did all the stuff. And this gentleman didn't know me from a can of paint. He started telling people about me. I was being recruited some, but he started telling people about, man, they got a guard down there in Tallulah. They got a guard down there in Tallulah. He's got size. He was just saying, and I found out because people that started recruiting me, they were telling me, they were asking me like, so what's your relation to what's your connection to Coach Smith? But I ain't know that.
He's like, I don't know that dude.
I ain't know him like that. I ain't know that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what he did was he brought some more attention to me. So in that junior year, I made all district first team a couple times. I think I was honorable mention maybe my sophomore year, maybe I probably was, and then had a couple all states. Um, I was a finalist for a lot of stuff, but I had some good accolades. I had my little deal.
Okay. So you say you was already getting kind of recruited. What kind of schools were looking at you?
Man, it was such a range. Golly, from like D3s to Georgetown. I was like third on Georgetown's depth chart. I'll never forget it, man. I had the house phone for your young viewers with the cord, the one that the cord with the long cord. Like when you got that long cord on there, boy, you thought you was doing something.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember taking the long cord into the bathroom, and John Thompson called me. Man, I almost peed on myself, man. I was so excited, and that was he was my motivation in the summer when I
Wow.
worked at the Sun.
That's funny because Mark was getting recruited with Georgetown that same year.
Uh huh.
But I mean, our coach went down there, and John Thompson's a cool guy, but he had my coach Reed. He had him waiting so long.
Uh huh.
Just it was kind of Coach Reed from the Detroit, real one. And then he also knew too, because Georgetown, I mean, in hindsight, I personally think I told Mark this. I think he'd have been better still going to Georgetown, but I know I don't know necessarily if he would have, because he played a lot of guys. He
Right,
played pressure ball, and
right.
I think coach wanted Mark to go somewhere where he's gonna be star right, which he ended up going to go to Temple. But that's ironic. But that's guys because you guys would have been teammates.
Yeah, how about that? And
Yeah.
bro, I was so excited about it because back then, in a lot of ways, John Thompson was not just players loved him, all our coaches revered him.
Listen, man. Yes, man. Listen, listen, man. Still, I feel don't get enough of flowers because, and I'm speaking as a black man because what I mean, and if you look at how college basketball turned into, he had a strong place in that about the way the game was played.
Yes,
And I'm
sir.
telling you, so growing up, people thought Georgetown was the HBCU.
They really did. They really did.
And didn't know that's one of the hardest schools to even get into academically. You
In
know what I'm saying?
Georgetown? Yes, sir.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Wow.
so like my recruiting was like, all the local schools. Grambling came in. Grambling tickled me the way they came in. They thought they had a plan and they didn't read the room. They didn't
Okay.
read the room. I really like Graham. I grew up around Grambling,
Mhm.
and they wanted to cheat a little bit. They did. They wanted to give me a little money, and
Really?
yeah, they wanted to give
Really?
me. Yeah, I
That's interesting.
it was Coach Hobby at the
Yes.
time.
Shout out to Fred Hobby. Yes.
Yeah, he came in my living room on North Cedar Street, and what they wanted to do was kind of slick. I qualified for all the academic scholarships. I had good grades. I was salutatorian, all that man, all that woo 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 woo. But I qualified for like free scholarship, and I qualified for like real like money. Like they were gonna pay. They would give. I would have gotten money because of the academics. Well, my mom was a high school English teacher,
Yeah.
and like they came at her kind of funny. Like they was like, this was the whole deal. They were like, well, look, Melvin can just go to school on an academic, and I get where they were going. He can just go to school on an academic scholarship. It'll be paid for. He'll be able to get some money, because if NCAA, I couldn't get any money. But
Right.
they were like, if he's on academic scholarship, he can receive the money. He can do all this, and we can save a scholarship and go
Absolutely.
player.
Oh
And
no,
like
that makes sense though. That makes sense.
I get it. It's a great move, but
Yeah.
my mom wasn't my mom wasn't on that.
She was like, hey, say this sounds like some bull. It sounds shady.
It's all shady, it's suspect. And like when she was saying it, because I was like, yeah, it's a cool deal.
Yeah.
And they had this whole scenario painted where it was a good situation, but a little bit of ignorance. I thank God that I really didn't understand it now, looking back at it. But no, they came with it, and like it was Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech came in strong. Northeast Louisiana came in. Montana State. I went up there and visited because I was like, there ain't nowhere in the world I'm
Yeah.
ever going up there. And bruh, they almost had me. I mean, I loved it. They almost had me. So I
Oh
mean, I
wow.
had I had San Diego State. Um, and towards the end of my recruiting, after I was pretty committed and convinced I was going to go to Baylor, other schools really started trying to jump on. The school I actually
Once
turned down, and I see the coach all the time now is Greg Polinsky. He's at Tennessee, but the school I turned down was Alabama. Alabama recruited our
okay.
area. We had Melvin Cheatham, who was right there from our area,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they recruited me. I mean, he wanted me to. If I had wanted to sign early, and my mom, again, going back to my mom, she was really upset with me. That I could have signed early, and Alabama was like, they Derek McKee,
Yeah.
they was
Right.
like, and that was a school that I would have wanted to go to. Well, I knew that if I had committed and signed early, they would have stopped coming to McCall. And I
Yeah.
wanted
Right.
Honeycomb, and I wanted
Right.
Rick,
Absolutely.
Jimmy. I wanted all my boys to get looks because I knew they were good. So I wouldn't sign. I wouldn't sign early, and I just told the coach I want to wait. Well, they recruited other guys and they moved.
Yeah. They got.
I had this conversation with Robert Ory about a month ago, I was talking to Rob on the phone. He called me about his son. We were just chopping it up a little bit, and we would have been teammates. Me and Rob would have been teammates because I wanted. I mean, they were like top 15 in the country.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they were really good. But that was a school, and so I had like Vanderbilt. I had some good schools, but and check this out, yay. I was Baylor's second choice.
Wow.
Yeah, they made me wait. Because I didn't play. If you go back and look, I didn't play like Baylor.
Okay,
I
yeah.
play like Baylor now.
Yeah,
I play
right, right, right,
like Baylor does
right.
now. I didn't play like. I mean, Baylor was 50
Yeah,
point.
that's really interesting. From D3 schools to Georgetown to Grambling. That was because it's usually pretty much if you want D3, it's we multiple D3s and D2s. It's
Right.
really that range is really not like that. Like that. That's
It was my recruiting was like somewhere I got at my dad's house. I got a box of like my letters, dude. I was because I tell you what was happening because I had really good grades. That brought in a whole different pool of schools because I had the good grades. They were like, because
right.
the situation's like, oh, he can be an academic, he can go on academics. I had Dartmouth.
Wow.
Me,
Wow.
you know me. For
Yeah.
Melvin Hunt, Dartmouth, yeah, I just don't fit that mold. That's just not.
Yeah. Yeah. I said,
Yeah,
dude.
I ain't that
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah. You got no business. You got no business driving past Dartmouth. Must never been a student there.
Exactly. So you're right. The range was really weird. It's like nowadays when I see kids that have that kind of range, I have to dive deeper because it's something. There's a connect.
It's
My
yeah.
uncle coaches at Howard,
Right.
or
Yeah.
there's something always there because you're right. That range typically doesn't happen.
Right. So this is crazy. It's crazy. Like it's funny how you have your stuff down, but then conversation. Carmen not expecting you, is she?
No, no, no. She
Good.
know if
Thank you, Carmen.
she know when I'm with my boy. That's why I'm at the office.
Okay.
I was like, babe, this is gonna be a good
Yeah.
one.
All right. So as he stated, you go to Baylor. Okay. You go to
Hey,
Baylor. You out there trying to do your thing down there at Baylor, hooping. Like I said, they don't play this type of style that you play. Here's there. Now you won this trophy. Where now?
we were in Japan. We were in Tokyo, and like it was most outstanding or something like that. Yeah, that was boy. Look at that brother right there. Woo! That boy right there. No, we it was like the best five players out of the tournament, and we played really well. Man, I shot the cover off the ball. I
Okay.
mean, during the tournament, I think I missed 1 3. I probably shot like 10 or 12 threes. I maybe missed like one three the whole tournament. I balled out, and my boy, it was kind of cool. We didn't win the tournament because my backcourt mate David Wesley. We wouldn't we He had a little injury, a little stress fracture, and they had
Mm-hmm.
a shaky looking floor. It was like one of those sport courts, and we weren't gonna risk him playing. But yeah, we weren't gonna risk Dave playing. So
Right.
what we ended up doing, Dave played the first game, so I got a chance to play. I got all them. Hey, I got all them play calls.
Yeah.
'Cause I got all, and I took advantage of it. I mean, I shot it really well, and it was a really good. Probably the best basketball I played in college.
Well, so that's interesting because I know, like I said, and it's interesting because obviously David didn't get drafted, but he ended up etching out like a 15, 16 year career. So with both you guys in a backcourt, so is he really a point? I know he played a lot of point in the league, or
Man,
he trying to score that thing.
that brother is a two. Listen, he and a pure two. No, I'm serious. Like a two that you and I would want to play with.
Okay,
Hey,
okay,
he can guard his position, man.
yeah,
I tell you what, if you Google enough, you'll see some great pictures of him guarding MJ, and he
yeah,
only 6 feet. Dave's 6 feet. Now ain't no 6'1". He's about
yeah,
6 feet. Long arms, strong as a bull. Could defend the one and the two. But I tell you what he would do, Jay, off pin downs, like all the stuff that I wasn't good at. Like I always had to rock. I didn't know how to play off pin downs at all. He could turn over his right shoulder and catch and fire. He could turn over his
Okay.
left shoulder, catch full speed from 3.
He
I mean,
probably was curling,
oh my,
fading to the corner.
that's why he loved me because like I was getting in the rock. I
Yeah.
could read where his defender was, and like he knew to go. He would go to space. I said, just run the space, dog, and it would be on his hand. And so he was a pure 2, and I
Okay.
was a pure point. And this was crazy. He taught me how to play 2.
Okay.
I taught him how to play point because coach came in. I think it was my senior year, right before my senior year. He said, "Look, how cold blooded is this?" He said, "Look, Melvin, if you want to play, how about we start? That's our intro. If you want to play this year, you need to learn how to play off the ball."
Okay.
I was all right, and he told Dave because Dave's gonna play point. He was helping Dave get ready for the next
But
level.
next level, right, right.
Yeah, he said, "So Melvin, if you want to play, you need to learn how to play off the ball." And I was shook. Dave was
Yeah.
like, "Don't even trip." He said, "We got all summer." So that summer, he taught me how to curl. He taught me how to read. I hated it. What I ended up doing is I would do all the 2 guard stuff until I got the ball. Then I turned into a point. Kind of like the way people play basketball now. I was a second side dude. I ended up being a second side point guard. And Dave wasn't great. Man, we play one-on-one. Man, I watched Dave play one-on-one against other other guards. It was the worst mess you ever could watch. The brother would check up and he would just shoot.
Yeah.
He would check up. If you gave him space,
He pulling up.
And I was like, Dave, you got to work your handle, man. I said, work your set. I tell him, work your setup. Move his feet. So you can get him going backwards, and then get to the cup. Man, that brother had none of that. He was like, why would I do that when I'm clean right here? And he can really, shoot. So
Yeah.
it made sense. But I was like, dude, you got to be able to move your guy. And then
Absolutely.
guess what? He used to clown me because we would check up, and the first thing I would do was go bop. He was like, dude, you open.
Yeah.
Shoot. And here's I'm a flex a little bit on this one. I didn't find this out until I probably found this out maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. Dog, what would you guess I shot from 3 my senior year?
Senior 3. I'm gonna say 37.
Plus 10.
47?
I shot
Okay,
47%.
well, let me ask you this. Hold up now. Hold up. How many shots?
See, boy, that's why I can talk hoop with you. My attempts were always down, but I shot a good number. I think I averaged like 3 or 4 attempts a game. But I tell kids
No, that's
nowadays,
not bad. So that means what throughout the
no,
season you took
no, no,
about 65, 70?
no, I took more than that. I took more than
Yeah,
that.
yeah, at least. Yeah, oh
Yeah,
no. Well,
I,
40,
I, I, I
47.
was I was 90, 100, something like that. And like,
Oh, that's awesome, man.
yeah, I led the conference in 3-point percentage. I didn't even know all this. I'm telling you, literally, I found out. I Googled and was looking up some numbers on a player, and then
Yeah,
I'm looking up myself,
yeah.
and it's like 47. It was 46.9 or 46. It was low 47. But I laughed because I've been telling people this for years. You'll never have you ever heard me call myself a shooter?
Right, right. No.
I always say I was a facilitator, but I was a guy that could make a shot. I was a
Yeah,
good shooter because I took good shots.
yeah.
That's so I'm
So,
always teaching that to
so
guys
I'm
now.
just really, really curious. So when you start playing off the ball, when you and Dave was working, did like okay, like for instance, even though he knows how to do the pin down, he know how to pop out and wing fade to the corner. He knows if the man's right behind you. He knows instead of popping out, he can curl. Did did he know how? Because on that curl, let's say if you on that left block, you got a big guy screening for you. When you curl, that pass got to come to the outside right hand, opposed otherwise it'll be behind you. So did he know how to pass since he wasn't traditionally a point?
Man, I don't get enough. For real, I didn't get a lot of assists from Dave. Bro, and he'll tell you it was the coolest thing because in coach's mind, he was checking a box.
Yeah, right.
Dave wasn't playing. He was assigned the point. He dribbled the ball up a lot of times. I got great pictures of different times where I'm bringing it up, and I got some where he's bringing it up. But Dave wasn't the point. Dave was assigned when they put the starting lineup up. It said point guard David Wesley, shooting guard. It really wasn't that. It's like I said, I would come off of a curl, get a catch, wouldn't have anything, and then I play point. And then
Okay.
he was the one, man. I'm telling you now. I tell you what he was though. From our work and his growth, man, that brother could straight line you to death.
Okay.
He came back. I remember him coming back one year, his first year out of college. Well, actually, it was second year because he was his first year in the league. And that brother said, "Mel, I got a bag." We wasn't saying bag back then, but
Right.
I got some flavor. I got some stuff. I
Yeah.
was like, "Yo, let's get to the gym. Let me see what you got."
Right.
Man, that bag was so shallow. Man, that thing was so narrow. He had
Wait a minute. What do you have? A 1-2 pull up? What do you have?
he had no wiggle. You know how I play.
Yeah.
I was wiggling and crossing and using my eyes and all moving. That's how I played. He was like a dart, right? The move that he came back with is a move after his 14-year career. He was still doing it. He learned how to take the ball behind his back and freeze and then explode out.
Oh, okay.
He was really good at it, but he could take it behind his back and like we worked on taking it between your legs and doing the same move where you know that little freeze.
Yeah.
Yay. That was it. And he was so proud of himself. I was so disappointed. I was like, that's what I'm gonna get some new stuff.
Right.
But he was so good at it, man. And I tell you, the dude was like, he might have been like T-shirt and Dockers. He was playing but man, that brother, you saw how he played.
Yeah,
he got to his business. He got to his business.
Yeah. Wow. So this is what I'm not. See, I don't think we never talk about this. So after your college playing career, were there any opportunities for overseas? Because your Dave didn't get drafted. He came the next year though, but he didn't get drafted. So were there some opportunities?
You know, it's funny. We finished up the season. Let me show you how where I was with our coach. We never had a run in, but remember, I started this off saying I was his second choice, and he liked me, didn't love me,
Right.
And in fact, we had a conversation about it, and I kind of called him on it. I said, I know I know I'm not your top choice. He always tried to recruit over me. He brought Dave in to recruit over me.
Okay.
He was always trying to recruit, and Dave was better than me clearly, but he was better than me different. Like I was better than Dave. Like people see us play in the summer, they'd be like, "Yo!" They didn't know how we both played because they just saw us playing college basketball. Well, long story short, Coach Iba, when the year was up, when my senior year was up, couple things. He didn't know I was graduating. He had no clue that I was graduating. And
wait, stop. Wait a
minute. Yeah.
What you mean he didn't have a clue you was graduating? I don't understand that.
Do you understand the words? Hey.
So the coach, so he didn't know where his team was academically.
Had no clue because he knew I wasn't a problem. He knew I was good. But I remember this. This was a conversation after the season because after the season was over, I was like, "Well, I'm moving on. You moving on. We good."
Right.
Well, my man sends one of the assistant coaches to my room. You need to tell Melvin that he still needs Baylor. So if he wants to get any kind of financial backing for summer or the coming year, he needs to come by here and talk to me. And I was like, the first thing I knew was my mama taught me well. She said, if they're giving you a scholarship for 4 years, you need to be done when that scholarship money is up. And so, I was ahead of the game, so I knew I was graduating. And like he sent the coach to threaten me.
Wow.
So I jumped in my car, rolled over to the arena. I pull up, I go into his office, and he's like getting me straight. Like, you do know you need Baylor. And I just listened to him. I listened to him do his little spiel, Jay. And because I'm a little petty. I'm a little bit petty.
Right. A little bit.
It's in there. I suppress it. I try.
Yeah.
So I was listening. I said, Coach, I'm graduating in a couple of weeks. Man, his eyes bulged. He was like, now he tried to backpedal.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'm graduating. And then he kind of gave me a half-hearted congratulations.
Yeah.
And I had mail up there, like not like agents. I had some there was like a summer league. The LA Summer League was going,
Yeah.
all that stuff. He didn't even give it to me.
Wow.
Well, what he said was, he said, Melvin, I didn't even know you had any aspirations to play beyond this year. And that
Wow.
broke my heart when he said that, because here's the thing about Coach Iba. Coach Iba is the first family basketball.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
everybody knows that name. Um,
Actually, everybody don't.
that's
Everybody
well,
don't.
man.
Everybody don't.
If you're a true hoop head,
Right.
you hear that name. That's a name.
Yeah.
And you had the Mavericks,
Hmm.
you had the Rockets, you had the Spurs right here in Texas.
Yeah.
So if he had made a phone call and said, "Hey, I want Melvin, just bring him to camp, bring him in for a workout,"
Just work right.
that would have helped me with
Yeah.
some money overseas. Well, long story short, he never did that because he was being honest. He really didn't think I wanted to play anymore. Well, when I got those papers, I remember the paper. It was a blue sheet of paper. It was like a fold out, and I went, paid my own way. I went to L.A. Yeah, I went to LA for the Summer Pro League. I tried out. I tried out for the Summer Pro League and made it.
Wow.
And I made like I was on a. It was like a DJ's team. Like, it was like 97.9 the box. Hey, 97.9 the box versus the Thunder. Hey, dog. Hey, they had NBA stars. NBA. Yeah, there was us. The 97.9 Jaybirds or whatever it were. It
Right.
was,
Right. Right.
but we was all trying to make it. So we played at Loyola Marymount,
Oh,
and
okay.
I made it, and I played well. I played really well, and uh, some opportunities came up. There were a few little offers, like nothing great. Like, I mean, it was no money. Someone with no money, and in the back of my mind, I had my degree. I had a couple of job offers,
Hmm.
and I told myself I was going to give myself 3 times to do it. I gave myself two.
Right.
You were around me when I was in Grambling.
Yeah.
Uh, that was my second look at it, but that first try, man, I played, and that's where I know. I don't know if you know the name Jim Boylan. He was Chicago. He was Chicago's coach,
Bo-
the Bulls coach.
Boiling. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. 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 Boiling. Yeah. Boiling. Yes.
he's like my big brother.
So at that time, what was his position at this point?
Well, see, he was at Michigan State, but he was about to go. He was coaching. He was about to coach in the league. So he was. They had young up and comers coach summer league. He
So wait a minute, hold up. So he was under Heathcote.
Yes, he was on Heat
Okay.
coach. He was on the
Okay.
Heat coach, and he coached my summer league. Jim
Okay.
was like, I don't know how old Jim hadn't hit 60 yet. So Jim was like just a little bit older than me. He didn't
Yeah.
know what he was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a perfect match.
Yeah.
We had a
Right.
we had a bunch of young college dudes trying to play. I remember our first game. Jim was coaching us. Man, we went up 25 on a bunch of pros, like lower end pros.
Yeah.
Man, we went up 25 on them in the first half. By halftime, we up 25. We lost by 30. That's a swing for. So I mean, we didn't know what we were doing, but it was good opportunity. And what it did was it got me an invite to a CBA camp
Okay.
in Columbus Horizon. I tried out for Columbus Horizon, did well. Yeah, you know how young I was. I hadn't even turned 22 yet. I
Yeah.
think I was still 21. And so I remember the Coach Chicarella. I was an alternate. I was the top alternate, and you know, which was great for me. I took it. I had to go back to the crib. Well, I'm thinking I was going to go to camp with them, and 2 dudes got cut from the Pacers. One that played Ohio State. It was in Columbus, and he came back to the CBA and knocked me out of camp. So that was my big opportunity. But I ended up playing in Puerto Rico. Ended up playing a little bit in Mexico. Um, Puerto Rico was crazy. I went to work down there. I mean, and this is the same league they have now. I did my thing.
Okay.
Um, I probably averaged, and wasn't a school, but I probably averaged like 24. Like I mean, I knew what the job was. I mean, they bring you in, you got to
They bring
score.
you can score. You got to score,
Yeah,
right?
and so I did my thing. So I played about, I think I played like 12, 15 games, and then they started messing with the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they would pay me, when they would cut us a check, they knew better than to give me my check before practice. Because if they gave me my check before practice, you know what I did, don't you? I got in my car, I
Yeah.
drove to the bank. I called. Well, she was my girlfriend, Carmen, my wife. I I got to the bank. I told her, call from the bank. I wired that money home to an account. I drove
Yeah.
back. Y'all ready to practice?
Yeah.
So
Right. Absolutely.
they started paying me at the end of practice.
Yeah.
But after one of those games, I remember the coach coming in. We didn't play well, and he said, he was like, "Yeah, if you guys play like this, you're not gonna get paid." I said, "Oh," I said, "That's where you're wrong." I said, "No, I'm going to get paid." I said, "I'm going to get paid." And so they would threaten us with our money, and we had a
Yeah.
game. I remember we had a game at home. I caught one body. I think I dunked on two people that year. Those 15 games. I dunked this dude, stepped over him. I mean, I was I had a really good night. I had probably had like 30. Almost had a fight in the game. Oh, it was great. It was a great night. Felt like back home, man. It was great, man. It was tremendous. Hey, it was all that you want in a game. And
Yeah.
I remember we lost. We lost on a game. I mean, I had a chance to win the game. I knocked the dude. I shouldered. I'll never forget this. I shouldered a dude, shot a fader, like out of the corner, knocked it down. I'm thinking game winner. I've had that happen twice in my life, high school, and then this one, game winner. Referee comes in, calls a
Wow.
trap. We lose at the buzzer. The coach didn't get mad, but I used it as a good opportunity to get out of there. I deuced them up.
Yeah.
I all
It's
my
like,
stuff.
I'll holler.
I made a little bread, had a little money. So that was my professional. And they tried to get me back the following year, but I was like, that's when I went to Graham.
Okay.
I was at Grambling, and I said I can try again.
It's great, and it's gonna like I'm gonna tie in like how we met with the Graham. It's crazy because I actually we talked about it before, and I talked to Jimmy too, how it wasn't happenstance how we met and everything. It was truly providence, but God. I mean, really, because everything. I mean, everything, and yeah, but I'm gonna get in that now. What I'm saying here now, listen, people, we went along. I really wanted y'all to get the basketball part because I think a lot of times, not saying that you have to play to be a good coach, because a lot of good players can't coach, but I really want to give you an idea. That's why I wanted to let him really go through because he's done a whole lot at the coaching level, and this is what I really want to get to because it's a whole lot. You might want to text Carmen and say, "Yeah, don't wait up." But look at so. All right. So okay, you stop playing. Okay. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and jump. I'm gonna tell me obviously I'm gonna talk about when you coached a little bit in high school. Now we don't even get that. How did you? Because you became a scout for the Houston Rockets.
No, you got to rewind a little bit back.
Oh, okay.
I coached 1 year high school here in
Yep.
Texas. Would still be there if they had let me. It was the greatest job in the world. Had a blast. Um, I got a call during that season from the Rockets. One of my old roommates, who's now second in charge for the Pistons, Dennis Lindsay, he was low on the totem pole with the Rockets. The general manager's a Baylor guy. Just passed away this past year, Carol Dawson. Um, they were both with the Rockets. They had a low end, bruh. When I tell you, they had assistant to the assistant to the assistant video coordinator job that they were going to
Okay.
kind of create. And clearly, I didn't have video. I didn't have video experience or anything like that. Well, they called that year and said, "Would you ever be interested in it?" I said, I don't know. Well, they canceled the position, moved on. I did the whole year. I take a job with Incarnate Word in San Antonio. At the
Okay.
time, Incarnate Word was NAI. Was no, we were D2. Had moved up to D2, and
That was a private school.
yeah, it's a Catholic school,
Private.
Catholic
Okay.
a Catholic school in
Okay.
San Antonio, and the head coach there was the guy who recruited me to Baylor. He's been to
Okay.
Tallulah several times. He said he chased me around. I was his recruit. He actually recruited myself, Wesley, and Dennis. He always talks about all of his guys ended up in the NBA, whether it's playing or coaching. But he he had me come down. He's crazy. Danny Casper is crazy. He got into a little situation with Texas State. It was his last stop and some racial stuff. But I can tell you, the dude ain't that ain't who he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's just old school. He just talk crazy.
Yeah.
Like we talk crazy. And
Yeah.
like
Where's he from?
he's a Texas dude. Texas dude.
A Texas. And you sure he ain't racist?
He wasn't like it. If he was Mississippi, if he was from the great state of Mississippi, yeah, it'd be different. No, he seriously just a good old, just a good dude for real. Good
Yeah.
to this
Okay.
day, good dude. Well, he was the head coach at Incarnate Word. He asked me to come down and interview. I told the coach at the high school, I said, "Man, I ain't going down there." I said, "I'm good right here." He's like, "Melvin, you got to go." And I found out later on when I went on the interview, he told his wife, I ain't letting Melvin come back. He said, Melvin is these were his words. He said, Melvin is a young stud, young star. He said he'll be better. We're fortunate to have Melvin for this short time. He told me that afterwards. So I
Mm-hmm.
go and me and Carmen, we got in a nice little argument. Going down there,
Yeah.
driving down to San Antonio, got in a good little argument. Well, we go through the whole process. We have been praying about it because we knew that it wasn't something that we wanted to do, but we knew that
Right.
we needed to pray about it. And so driving back, that same day, we had a full day of looking at it. We looked at each other. She on one side of the car, I'm on one side of the car driving. I look over my shoulder and I say, "What you think?" She said, "You know what I think. We got to go." We both knew without talking that it was the best thing. And so I took the job in San Antonio as an assistant coach. I was actually the top assistant. I was the lead assistant there. I was there for 5 months. I was gonna have to drive a bus. Man, I was telling you, I ain't driving no bus. I said, I'm a coach, man. I was gonna have to drive a bus. I was teaching classes. It was the coolest job though. But I was there. I was the best player on campus. I was better
Yeah.
than all our team. I used to be wearing them dudes. I mean,
Right.
the Spurs used to have their camp in the back of our gym. They built
Okay.
us a room. So it was cool. I was always I played with the pros. It was great. But I was there 5 months. And that's when they called me back. Dennis and Carol Dawson called me back about that same position. Well, I wanted to go check it out. My head coach didn't want me to. Danny Casper was like, he went off on me. He went off on me because like they wanted me to interview in October. Well, remember October 15th was always the
15
start.
is when it kick off. Right.
Yeah, and so I went down there for this visit for this interview, like October 7th or something like that. So I fly down to Houston. He wasn't gonna let me go, but they had
Really.
to call him. Yeah, they had to call him. The Rockets had to call him and say, at least let him interview. Man, I went down there, man. I sit down in the room, but it's the craziest thing. Rudy T from Detroit. He from
Yeah.
Hamtramck.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Boylan had coached me. He's on the staff. Jim Boylan had coached me. He's in the room. Larry Smith is from Vicksburg. You know where
Yep.
Vicksburg is.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, hold on. Yeah, and so
So hold
I got
up. So wait a minute. Who? So they had like a almost a committee during the interview.
yep. I interviewed with two people, and then what they did was they all got me in the conference room. And so I'm in front of the GM, Rudy T, the head coach, the whole staff. I'm in there with the crew. That's my man right there. Yeah, I'm in there with all the heavy hitters, and he was so regular. I mean, he literally had just finished playing golf. His hair was sweated out. His shirt was. I'm in there with my little cheap Dillard suit that I had splurged on. I'm using my big words, yay. I'm
Yeah.
trying to be smart. And Rudy looked over. This is how cool he was. How cool he is. I'm using my big words, man. I'm leaning forward. I got the body language. I'm making the eye contact. All the things you've been taught. And he looks over at the other coaches and he said, "Man, he's loving me." He said, "I don't know if we can hire this guy." Right in front of me. He says, "I don't know if we can hire this guy." I look. He said, "Man, he's way too smart for us because he knows hard." I was
Yeah.
trying hard. And so he got me to relax. So I dropped my shoulders. He was like, "You good?" So we just had a chat like we talking right now. We
Yeah.
talked about our connection to Michigan. We talked about Boylan coaching me, philosophy, all these great things. And he walks out, and I'm done. I mean, my interview's done. He walks around the corner and goes into the general manager's office. They walk in the office together, and there was a door. There was a door from the conference room to the GM's office, an adjoining door. Well, they didn't realize the door was open, so they told me to wait in the conference room. I'm sitting in there. I'm listening to him talk about me. Rudy was like, I ain't gonna cuss, but he said, "Man, I love this MF. Man, this dude." Yeah. He said, "That's my type of dude." He's
Yeah.
saying all these
Yeah.
great things about me. He was like, "Man, we gotta get this guy." And right when he's saying it, Carroll kind of turns his chair and looks over Rudy's shoulder, looks me right in the eyes.
Wow.
Rudy looks over his shoulder and just starts laughing. He said, "Man, come and get in here."
Get in here. Right. Right.
I walked in there.
You heard everything anyway.
Yeah, he's like, "The jig is up. The jig is up." So he said, "Come on in here." And they offered me the job, man. And I came back and they called ahead to let coach know in San Antonio. They let him know that because coach was like, you're gonna be down there shagging basketballs for Akeem. You ain't gonna be doing no
Yeah.
real
He was throwing salt.
salt, shade, hate. But
Look, Morton saw it. The ice, rock saw it.
and whatever he had, he was chunking it. And so they told him, they said, "No, this is a real opportunity for Melvin." And so I came back and coach softened he softened his tune and he let me leave. And I was a video. I mean, I remember when I went down there when they picked me up, somebody asked and said, "You got any experience with video?" I said, "Zero." I said, "My VCR is blinking right now." Hey,
I didn't figure that out.
he got that done. So I was just letting them know, "Hey, look, I want to be what y'all want me to be." I said, "But I ain't got that." They said, "Well, we can teach you. We can teach you things." And so Rudy was real cool for me because when I got there, he knew I loved to be on the court with the guys. He said he knew I had a knack for connecting with people.
Mm-hmm.
He knew I loved the game. So Jay, what I would do is I would do all my video stuff like at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Like I
Okay.
was talking about being efficient. I had a young family. We had one kid, our daughter Brea.
So she was okay. Okay.
Yeah, she was like a baby.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she was a young baby. And so I was trying to what I would do is like I would try to leave later to see her, so I could see her before school and daycare, whatever it was. And then I would try to come home before she went to bed. And then I would go back to work and do all my video stuff. And like Boylan caught me, like everything was time coded. And then you could see 3 a.m.,
Okay.
3:15. I'm putting in my clips. I'm
So
doing
they
my
so they like, oh, he working.
yeah, I was getting it in. And let me tell you what I was doing. Because I wanted to be available from 11 o'clock to 1 when the players were there. Because I wanted to be on the court. And Rudy loved it. The one thing they had to get me straight was they was like, "Mel, just in the coaching world, it don't look good when you show up 15 minutes before the head coach." I was rolling in, 15, 30 minutes before Rudy got there. Like I was a veteran coach,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like I had anything to do, but it just wasn't, they were just telling me in this profession, it's not a good look. Because what I would do is I would get there like at 10:30, have all my stuff, organized, whatever, practice. I'm on the court. Bro, I'm out there shooting I'm rebounding for Dream. I'm shagging balls with Dream. I'm shooting
Yeah.
with Barkley. I'm working with Steve. I'm doing all the on the floor stuff. After practice, Walt Williams, yo, Melly, let's get some shots. We would shoot. I'm in there coaching and doing stuff. And then when they would leave, I would get to work, do as much stuff as I could, go home and keep repeating it. And so Rudy knew that I wanted to be on the court, and he knew that I wanted to learn to coach. Um, and so he gave me opportunity, man. He gave me. They moved me so fast. You mentioned as a scout. In that first year, I may have finished that first year being like the video guy and like a player development. Nobody had player development title. That's what you did. Coaches
Yeah.
develop players. But they started letting me scout locally because we had University of Houston, we had Rice right there. We had a couple schools. Lamar was close. They let me kind of run around and do some local area scouting, and I didn't know what I was doing. Honestly, I did.
Right.
But they wanted me to get out and kind of figure it out, and that's where we were. We were kind of on the cutting edge. A lot of teams, we set the bar for, like people talk about the Spurs, the Spur Nation and how they did things. A lot of that came from us, honestly, because we had won. Prior to me getting there, they had won 2 championships, and people were copying what Houston did. It was great, man. We kind of had the blueprint. What Rudy did for us is we were video guys, but we were front office guys, and we were coaches. And we had a cool scenario where so everybody could touch a little bit of everything. We called it like baseball. We was in the bullpen, on deck, at bat.
Okay.
So you're always rotating, and Rudy be like, "Who's on deck?" And whoever was on deck was the guy that was doing the game prep, was prepping for the next opponent. Then the guy that was at bat was working on this opponent. He was doing a video and scouting report for the team that you're playing right then. And then the last guy was doing front office stuff. I was doing draft film on Richard Jefferson. Tayshaun Prince.
Okay.
I'm doing cut-ups on them and front office stuff. And you were always rotating. It was like 3 years in one. You were getting 3 years of experience.
Now, the other guys, you said you guys were rotating. Those other guys, they had already had experience, though, right?
One hadn't. The other one, it's funny. We had the same birthday. He was 2 years older than me. We were born the same birthday. And we sat right next to each other. He didn't have experience. He was a Michigan dude. He was actually a baseball player. He played baseball in college at Grand Valley. No,
probably Grand Valley.
He played baseball there, and he Dean Cooper, and he was brand new too. We came on. We had the same anniversary date as far as starting coaching, and then the other guy, he actually he had more experience, but he hadn't moved up, and we actually kind of leapfrogged him.
Oh, yeah, and he had been there for a minute.
He had been there a little bit. He was a little younger than me, maybe like a year and a half younger than me. But he had been there. He had been with the Rockets. He had been a video guy. He's an Ohio dude and a good dude. Matter of fact, he's a head coach in Australia right now. But he coached all over the league. He coached all over the league. I mean, so we were like three-headed monster. Always rotate.
So now, so I'm thinking like routine when they had coaches meetings. Were you guys in those coaches meetings?
Every one of them. And here's another good one. This is something, I want you to have this story to share with other people. It's cool. It's really cool. That same conference room where we would do they would do the video, like we're going over draft stuff. We had all the videotapes in there, and we would take a tape out of the library and watch a clip on Danye Jones. Good going right, strong defender. We had all the stuff on the board and boom, boom, boom. Well, as a video guy, they'd be in the meeting and they would somebody come in and say, "Hey, we need film on Jimmy Harris." I grab a long and a short off the shelf, bring it in there to them, and go back out. And they would do everything. They were doing everything. At first, you weren't necessarily a part of that meeting. You could have, but you had other stuff to do. You had other jobs with the video.
Right.
So you would stay out, right? And the guy who had been there a little bit, he was a little territorial. He could feel He could feel,
He put the momentum of y'all. If you get, yeah,
and he knew like the players gravitated to us, and it was like he knew I could still hoop. I could still hoop, man. I was
so
out there
wait a
hooping.
minute, is this the then? This is not the baseball guy, is he?
No, this is the other guy.
Not okay. The other guy. Now, could he play at all?
As they say in Spanish, un poquito. He could play a little bit. He could play a little bit, but like he wasn't a hooper. He wasn't a hooper.
Right,
He was more.
right,
He fit the video guy mode. I fit more the traditional coach like
yeah,
mode. Like my wife always said Melvin, people assume that I played in the league. For a while, they assumed I played in the league, and I was like, no, I wasn't good enough to play in the league. And then David Fisdale gave me a nice little statement. He said, physically, I couldn't play in the league. Mentally, I could play in the league. He said, my body, I just wouldn't. I'm regular. Like I'm
right,
a regular guy. Steve Francis and Cuttino, they 7-foot wingspan. I'm 6'7". I'm regular. And
yeah.
even then, I'm not regular, but you know what I'm saying.
But see,
Uh,
look here, man. See, look, all right, hold up, because I'm gonna talk about Steve and Cuttino in a minute. It's crazy. Thank you, because you helped me here. Look here. But so let me, because I remember when you were scouting, and I remember you called me. Say, yeah, what is this kid Eddie Curry like?
you
And
remember
I was
that?
like, yes. And I said, you know what? See, for me, it is crazy. I probably shouldn't do this, but high school big guys, I judged everybody by Chris Webber. I
Ooh.
judged everybody by Chris Webber as far as a high school big guy.
Yeah.
Chris Webber, and to me, like that, he didn't play. If you was a little, he wasn't playing around with you. He was in the hole. He was going to dunk you. So, and for me, I said he has a nice touch. I said he makes free throws. I think as big as he is, I just felt he wasn't dominating Illinois basketball the way he should have been. So I
Was
remember
that
when you huh,
Thornwood?
Thornwood.
Thornwood. Yeah, yeah.
Thornwood. So I remember you came up and he said, "I said, with the game tonight, we can go check it out." And we went with the Heralds, and I
Yeah, we
remember,
did.
listen, y'all, I'll tell you something about Chicago people. We went to Herald, right? So I always get hot sauce on my so the ladies asked him, he want hot or mild. So Mel said, hot. And he saw a lady put that big thing, start throwing the hot sauce on. It was so
I was like, that's what we're doing?
yeah. And I remember going to the game. You was looking at, and I remember you actually liked the one kid. I forget his name. That ended up going to Purdue. He played like the two of the three. So I was like, dang. So I remember that. And okay, I'm telling y'all something. I'm mad. I'm jumping around. This ain't in my notes. This had to be. I'm thinking. I don't know what year, but the pre-draft camp. The pre-draft camp. Now it's kind of your fault too, but I'm gonna tell you something. See, I didn't know because I didn't know if I can get in or whatever. So Melvin gonna call me like noon or something and say, "Yo, I can get you in. Just come on down there." I remember you and your man, y'all had so
BJ,
it's
yeah.
it's the summer. I'm already drinking. So man, I came down there, had to turn backwards. Listen, it's one mind where I ain't know. It's crazy because I remember that's the year I think the Darius Miles that came out, and in
Right,
fact
right.
and my young boy Terrence Roberson, I saw him on the bus. I'm saying, so he was like, "Yay!" He said, "Man," he said, "Man, I can't get you in there, dog."
I can't do it. I'm barely in there. Hey, I'm barely
Yeah.
in there. Oh my goodness, boy.
Oh Lord, yeah. So okay, I just thought about that. So now you talked about Steve Francis. Now everyone know about Steve Francis and whatnot. Let me ask you this: how good was Steve Francis?
Incredible. And let me, he- as far as his gifts, you can put him in any era. The gifts are the gifts.
Mhm.
Strong, I mean, brother neck is like he's got like a football player's neck. He got to be a size 19 shirt. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's just neck, strong, explosive, just a twitch. He got the Ray Allen calves. Um, I remember the game came so easy for him, but he was an M1 mixtape dude. Like even in that picture, like he wanted to mix you. He didn't want
Yeah.
to score on you. He wanted to do something nasty to you.
Yeah.
So your girl mad at you. He
Right.
was, that's what he. And I remember Kobe told him this walking down the hallway at the arena after we played, and he said, "Steve, he said, man, I don't know why you don't have a go to." Steve was like, "What you mean?" He said, "You don't have a go to." He said, "Man, you beat people and you just beat them and then beat them with something different the next time." He said, why don't you have like a signature move?" I remember that in the hallway, and Steve was like, "Mel, we got to polish up a move." He polished up that little between the legs, hezzy
Yeah.
pull. That was
Yeah.
that was Steve's.
Yeah.
Kobe is the one who talked him into doing it. He's like, "Man, I don't know, I don't know why you do all that other stuff." He said, "You can get that easy." He said, "You can."
And it's
He said,
cool too because when you do that, you have to bite.
"You have to."
You have to bite.
Because he twitchy.
Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
and so he gave Steve like the permission to do it, like saying, "No, man, that's what you need to do. You doing all
Yeah.
that other stuff." He said, "That's easy for you," and it kind of changed. It helped Steve, but man, the dude was special. And I tell you, I'd say this in front of him because I mean I love him like a little brother. His lifestyle, he did a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, to be as good as to accomplish as much as he accomplished, in spite of how the stuff he was doing, he was like he was getting it in.
He was outside, bro.
He was outside, homie. He was outside, and like I remember walking into the locker room one time at home, and it's right before practice, and like this shows you, man, being young, man, just resilient body. He eating pancakes, eggs, bacon, sausage. He got syrup on everything. He chasing it with a Coke. It's 10:45. Well, he
Yeah.
walked out, his fingers sticky at 11 before practice start. He didn't ate all this and it didn't even touch him.
And see, I'm gonna tell you something. 5 years ago, I just realized I thought everybody thought like me, and I'm saying it's not even bragging. 'Cause I know it's a gift. My memory is at a whole nother level, man. I remember some detail, and I just said, I'm gonna start embracing this. Start use. I don't know if you remember this. We were on the phone. I said, Mel, tell franchise I'm your man. I need some kicks. He said, all right. I'm just playing around. You called me 2 hours later. You said a FedEx coming to tomorrow. I don't know if you remember this. It was it was these joints right here. Right.
Oh man, that's right.
It was those joints right there. And I was
Wow.
I was playing the pro am league. And I rocked them joints that Saturday, and it's just crazy, man. And I was just playing. I just was tripping.
I barely remember that, but I remember that.
Yep,
That's crazy.
yep,
That's crazy. Hey, let me give you another. And these are the stories that I love for just a casual fan to get because you get so much of the negativity.
yeah,
Steve, I was one day we and him was just in the gym shooting, just messing around, nothing crazy. And I was telling him about my high school, telling him about McCall. And I was like, "Yeah, we ain't had a lot." I said, "Man, we painted the floor." I said, "That floor was concrete." He said, "It was hard like concrete." I said, "No, no, no, no. It was concrete. You ain't no light. It was actually
right,
concrete."
right.
He's like, "For real?" So he listened to me tell my little story about my school and this that, and the other. And one day, unsolicited, I didn't ask. He said, "Man, let me outfit your school." I said, "Let me your high school team." I was like, "Seriously?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Get their sizes." I got all their sizes. The kids, called Coach Riggs. I got all their sizes. He sent them sweatsuits, He
Yeah, that's
sent
what's
some
up.
shoes, and it was just because of a conversation we had.
Yeah.
He was, and that wasn't like, and he wasn't trying like ain't nobody ever heard that story.
Right.
He did that. He did those types of things all of the time, and he wasn't. I love to say it wasn't just Steve. I mean, a lot of those dudes they give back so many different ways that it's just not formal. It's almost like the Bible talks about. When you give and you want everybody to hear, or you pray and you
Yeah.
want everybody to hear, they're your gift right there. That's what you
Yeah.
get. Well, a lot of times it says, "Don't let the left hand know what the right hand's doing." I mean,
Yeah.
and so a lot of those guys are like that. And like Steve did that, man. I'm telling you, he outfitted McCall
Wow.
men's basketball just on the conversation. Didn't
Yeah.
ask, watch this. Didn't try to make it a tax write-off. Didn't try to get. And I told him, I said, yo, because at first I was like, is he really gonna do this? And Coach
Right.
Riggs called me. They was like, hey man, we got a shipment here from Reebok. And I was like, dog, I said, you really did it. He said, yeah.
Yeah.
So those are I'm glad you brought that because I had forgotten that. I had
Yeah.
forgotten that, man. Wow.
It's crazy, man. It's like, and I just want you to speak to this because you was there. Some basketball heads knew what I was talking about because there's so many guys. Cause like I said, it's so many. Everybody, thinking, they about the T Max, the Cobes. That's Pete Pierce. Okay, yeah, the Kobe. To me, this brother here was so cold. Well, I don't say was still. He could listen, man. So tell me, Cuttino Mobley, Cat. Tell these people how good Cuttino was, man.
Listen, man. He was so dominant and he made the game look so easy. I mean, when you see him play in the big three,
Yeah,
you see him
yeah.
playing in the big three,
Still doing them. Yep.
giving them buckets. I mean, people don't know he's a Philly dude, so he boxes. He was in
Hmm.
all the gyms. He's got great, not good. He's got great hands and a southpaw. We played more post one on one, two dribble, one dribble, three dribble. Me, him, and one of our scouts, BJ, and Jimbo, and we played more one on one because he just wanted to work on moves, hand placement, when to attack, when to soften up. He pulled a chair, he rushed you. He was a tactician. He can't, and this is the thing that I saw a little clip of him yesterday. In fact,
Hmm.
he cut all of it off because he was silver, and he was
Yeah,
silver. Now
yeah,
he went silver here and took this off.
yeah.
Um, he was talking about the game, and he always thought the game. In fact, I'm gonna put him out there a little bit. I remember we were trying to figure him out as a player, and Rudy was like, he coached great players already, and Rudy was like, fellas, I just don't think Coutinho's nervous system is built for big moments because he
Mm.
had a couple big moments early, and he didn't come through. He didn't fail, but he just didn't. He didn't do it.
Right,
He just let
right.
the moment go. And Rudy was like, I don't think that he's built for. I'm not sure. He said, I'm not sure if he's built for that. Well, somebody told Cuttino, one of the coaches talked to him and said, hey man, it's okay if you take over. We're okay with that. Huh. The rest is history. That brother hit so
And
many big shots.
him and franchise was tight too, huh?
Two man, they were so close. And Moochie, dog, we
Okay,
had Moochie
Moochie Norris.
and
Moochie Norris.
Cuttino.
Moochie had some boogie too, man.
What? And man,
Moochie
listen,
had some boogie too.
he had that East Coast boogie. Him and
Yeah,
Steve both.
yeah,
All three of them East Coast. And like
yeah.
our play call was shakes. The dudes of like my boys that played in the league back then, they all talk about, man, I used to hate when y'all Grant Hill hit me with this. I was talking to Grant, and he said, Mel, remember y'all had one shake? I said, yeah, one shake, two shake, and three shake. That was when we would play all three of them little dudes as the 1, 2, and the 3. And the shake was ISO. hey, because the way the
Straight
rules
ISO.
it was straight ISO. No, the way the rules were, you couldn't help from certain spots.
Yeah,
We,
yeah.
we would swing that mud to a side and give them spacing, and you was on an island, yay. And Grant was talking. My Grant was like, man, I used to hate Cuttino would play the 3.
So I'm assuming teams was getting probably a lot of illegal defenses too, probably.
Trying to help, didn't know how to
Yeah,
help.
yeah.
And Cap we was frying dude. And Moochie was like, he would embarrass. Moochie was like, he had probably some of the best handle in the league. He was top 5 handle in the league when he was playing. I mean, he could dance with it. I mean, he's still known for that.
You know what? This is just me because I like ignorant in that stuff. So I used to love when Moochie have a game and he ain't got his hair braided.
Half.
and giving somebody, I like this dude like he at the park.
Like, wait, right here.
Hey y'all, listen, y'all got to bear with me, man. Like I said, I don't get a chance to talk hoops. So yeah, this is yes.
Yeah. That's
yes.
the right there.
Oh man, you know been having to. Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know. Hey, and I'm telling you, right, Moochie come in there, man, he have it half braided and half unbraided and give you work. He can handle, he could he could pass, he could boogie with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, but back to Cuttino, people don't realize how good he was. He could defend everybody, and he finished. He was one of the best finishers at the rim. Like he was like it was easy. I mean, it was really easy for him. And like you said, to this day, right now, wherever he is, if he's playing pickup, he's scoring easy. I mean, he's putting you in the rim. He is so good. He was so talented. He was a special player, special talent.
Yeah. Now listen, people. Again, these are just a few names. We got some more names. Now we're gonna hit some highly notable names in a minute. Now, okay. So listen. Yeah, we stay on Houston forever. We gonna move to my team. So Shaq goes to Miami. Rudy T is hired with the Lakers.
Yep.
Obviously, at this point, you have established another thing I'm gonna talk about too, y'all. He kind of talked about what he said with the shoe. A conversation got the uniforms. We're gonna talk about relationships in a minute because he got an opportunity. But as this go on, you're gonna see how he continued to move based on his merit and his relationship. That's what I'm talking about. I tell kids how relationships, because a lot of time people get hired based on relationships. And that's why that burning bridges stuff is a real thing. And people in whatever community, whatever industry, people talk. So that's very important. So Rudy T goes to the Lakers. Obviously, you want his sister now. You go to the Lakers too. This is first year without Diesel. So now, tell me about that transition.
Here's the first thing. Shaq, Louisiana cat, been knowing him, a year younger than me, been knowing him, through in passing. He did high school in Texas. So we're in the same region. And a lot of us knew him, not just me, but a lot of us knew him. As soon as we take the job with the Lakers, because the job was supposed to be Mike Krzyzewski.
Okay.
Mike Krzyzewski, they offered him the job and they said if he doesn't want it, it'll be. They always do that, And they said and Rudy was the next guy, but we knew that Mike Krzyzewski wasn't going to leave Duke. It's kind of like Dan Hurley. They're talking about Hurley was going. I was like, man, that brother ain't leaving. He ain't leaving that. Yeah, right. He ain't leaving that to get. Well, I digress.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So he was smart enough to say, I get it. Well, Rudy. So we all knew Shaq. Shaq used to train in Houston. We practiced. Our practice facility was a tennis club. So it was like, in the summertime, we had the best runs in the country. I'd put us up against anybody. Shaq, Tim Duncan, David Robinson, and people would converge down to Houston to play at our gym. And so Shaq was always in there. So as soon as we got the job, the deal wasn't done yet with the Lakers as far as the trade. But we got on the phone with Shaq. Hey, big fella, we can work this out. hey, I can change.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're trying to make it work, man. And Shaq, I respect him because my man was like, Coach, I love y'all. And he said at the time when all this was going down, Rudy wasn't in the mix. And
Okay.
he was like, "I love y'all." He said, "But I'm too far down the road." He said, with Miami, he said it's time, it's time. And we was like, "You sure?"
Right.
Because what we was doing, we was like, "We'll figure Kobe out,
Yeah.
we'll figure Shaq out." Because I mean, they could have won five more,
Hmm.
5 more. They were that good. Well, when Shaq said he had to go, we was like, "Cool." And Kobe was there, and I'm talking, man. One of the one when I always talk about Kobe's focus, it's the middle of summer, ain't nothing going on, and we ain't getting ready for Game 7. It's just a Tuesday in the summer. We get to LA, we're meeting folks and talking, and they say, "Yeah, Kobe's in the back. He just worked out." It's like, cool. So I'm gonna go back there, and like I said, I'd had interactions with Kobe through Cuttino. Him and Cuttino were
Yeah.
tight Philly, and then
Yeah.
and Steve, they were all East Coast dudes. So yeah, I go into the back, and they got the old school metal tub, the old school
Yeah. Yeah. The hot
ice.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, he's sitting in one, no ice in it, but it's water up to like his chin almost. He's just
Hmm.
sitting down and it's water up to here, and he's having a real conversation with me. I mean, I'm talking about, I'm like, man, I'm like, bro, I'm excited, man. This is gonna be great for us, bro. And I'm selling. I don't need to sell. Yeah, that's a great picture, man. It's one of my faves.
Hmm.
I'm selling, and he's listening and talking, and I'm like, this is gonna be great, man, and da da da. He's just talking to me regular, right? And I realized the conversation was so regular. I was like, this brother sitting there. I'm sitting here talking to a grown man, in some water, like you're taking a
Yeah.
bath. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
flicked the water. It was ice cold. He's in an ice bath. He's in cold, cold water. So focused, it didn't even
Yeah.
like I would have been. Yeah, dog. He
Yeah.
was so focused, and this is in the middle of summer. That's how focused he would get when he was locked into something. He was locked in, and that was one of the times. Like when I saw that, I was like, "This dude is different, man." He never would. Yeah, he never would. When I would do drills, like I have a line of the wings: Karan Butler, him, Kareem Rush, lefty. Luke Walton would be in there with me. I had a nice little group of wings, and so I have them doing moves. Jermaine Jones, I strip them. I can still play. I strip them. Body, I make a play. Every now and then, I can make a play. Man, Kobe ain't never let me make a play on him. He was like, I ain't never showing you no weakness. Like, like he would never take a rep off because he didn't want me to have.
Anything to say that.
Right now, to this day, he's dead and gone, and my man's still like, nope, you ain't getting the satisfaction of saying you can't tell Danye, you cannot say I stripped Kobe. He was always on. He was always on.
Okay. Again, you probably not gonna remember this. I maybe not. You called me one time. I think you may have the way you was talking. I don't think I was your first, maybe not even your second call. Whatever, you had to tell the story right then in real time. You say, "Yay, listen, dude, you just got to LA." You said, "Man, let me tell you something. Kobe and Karan Butler was playing a one-on-one. You said, man, listen, you know how strong man, Quran was bodying them. He was, and Quran, he said, man, no, Quran ain't no punk. He said, man, Kobe was taking them bumps. And he said, man, I was scared because I know them dudes gonna start fighting. And he said, and I'm the only one in there. I said, I just got to LA. I don't want to get fired. He said, man, Kobe was, and look, Quran competed, but Kobe ended up winning. He said, man, he said, man, this dude crazy, man, because he said the average person, he said because the way Quran was playing him, you was like, man, I ain't never seen nothing like that. I remember Carl told me that.
I remember they was clashing and running into each other. Like I was like, man, it scared me. I thought it was gonna jump off. I thought it was gonna
Yeah,
jump off, and I didn't know what I could do to stop because like Quran is a real one. I mean,
yeah,
Quran, Racine,
yeah.
it's funny. Sidebar: I got my job. I got. I, I, I didn't necessarily get a job, but Mark Cuban, Dallas was coming in to watch to play us like the next day, and we let them
Okay,
practice at our facility.
Yeah.
Me and Karan, Avery Johnson. Yeah,
Yeah.
Avery. Avery was a coach for Dallas at the time, and he was bringing them in. And me and Karan were on a back basket. We were both drenched in sweat. We played ones for like 30 minutes. I was so fatigued from hitting him and punching him and pushing him and stripping. And like we playing ones, like going to five. And like
Yeah. Yeah.
and Avery told me this because he interviewed me years later. Him and Mark Cuban interviewed me years later. Avery was like, when I saw you in that back gym on that back court in the back of the gym and the way you were pushing Karan Butler to get better, he said, I knew I wanted to try to hire you. So that's another good story. You just never know. I'm
Never
just sitting
know.
there trying to do my job, trying to help a guy get better. And I didn't realize I was being watched. And
Right.
and Mark Cuban and Avery tried to hire me like had it been like 2 or 3 years later,
Yeah.
just because of spending time with Karan. But man, that time in LA was. I mean, look, yeah. When I tell you that it was such a change. You know, Cole. First thing Cole told us was he said, "Look, I'm tired of the triangle." He said, "I don't want to do the triangle anymore." Um, Rudy and us, we were ready. I studied the triangle. Rudy's first offense, he said, as a pro, was the triangle when he was with the
Okay.
San Diego Rockets at the time before they moved to Houston. He said he knew the triangle in and out, so he was teaching us, and we were
Okay.
studying the triangle because I was thinking I just assumed that's
That's
what
what.
that's what he want to run. Well, first thing he told us was he said, I'm tired of the triangle. I don't want to do that anymore. He said, and I'm tired of at the end of the games, them zipping me up to the top and clearing it out and telling me to go to work. He said, I want something different. We was like, cool, because we had a whole different system. We played a lot of step up screens. And I remember I spent one day, me and another assistant coach, I probably spent 20 minutes with Cole doing one step up screen where he came off and just shot a pull up.
Yeah.
Hey, he did it for 15 or 20 minutes. After like 5 minutes of it, he's gotten a lot of reps. I'm thinking we're gonna move to the other side. He said, no, 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 no. I want to stay right here.
Mhm.
Made us stay right in that spot. He didn't like the way they were going in different ways. They were all going in.
But you're
Yeah,
right.
he was he probably, I mean, it was nothing to see him shoot that pull up and make 40 in a row. I mean, no exaggeration. 35, 40 in a row. But he was not satisfied because some of them were going in, rolling in, some of them were swishing. They were all clean. He was that maniacal.
That's kind of Tourette syndrome type.
It was,
It-
it was
yeah,
it
it is. Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
messed. He was like, no, I want him. He was like perfection. He
You
wanted
want to click
perfection
right.
when he was working. And so it was wild. And like, Rudy only lasted like when Rudy stepped down, I think we were like maybe 9 games over 500. We were playing pretty good. We had the Christmas Day game, which was wild.
Yeah.
We lose to Miami. It's a reunion, him and Shaq.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we lost by like 2 point, 116, 114 in overtime.
Yeah.
They were way
And Shaq
better
had
than us.
fouled out. Shaq had fouled out.
Yeah, and they were
Yeah.
way better than us, but we took them to the end and we lost by 2 points. Kobe had 42.
Yeah.
Hey, he had 42. We go back in the back. we go back in the back. Kobe undresses the coaching staff. He goes in. Yeah, I'm talking about goes in. I mean, we got to clean this up. We got to be better. We're not this. And we're like, Miami's the best team in the league, and we just lost 2 points, and you had 42.
Yeah.
And you complain about the offense? That was kind of that kind of messed Rudy up.
Okay.
Because Rudy was like, yo, I don't know if I can do this. He said, because if he complaining after scoring 42, he said, what's he gonna say when he get 25? And we
Now was
lose. So
I'm
what?
sorry. I no, I didn't mean to cut you. Now was Rudy having some health challenges at this point?
Well, that's how it ended up being framed. And he did they wrapped it around stress.
Okay.
And he did, like, he couldn't turn it off. Rudy would tell you, he'd tell you that if he was sitting right next to him right now. He couldn't turn it off. He started going on these long walks on the beach to try to turn it off. He got really into his music. I mean, he had like we go on a road trip and he had like a fire stick. He was putting together like playlists. I mean, like I
Yeah.
say, yeah, I like that, Rudy. He make me a playlist. He got into that to try to cut it off. He couldn't sleep because his brain was constantly turning. And this was
Yeah.
one of my highlight moments. I'm shooting with Cole one day after practice. Yay, we're shooting on the basket, and Cole's making shots, but he's line driving them. Rudy comes over there and says, "Hey, Cole, he said, I know you're making them and you're shooting." He said, "I just want to see if you'd be willing to try something." Cole was like, "What?" He said, "Instead of darting them in," he said, "get a little lift on it." He showed him a couple of things. Kobe made like 10, 15 of the cleanest, sweetest swishes from three that I've ever seen. And Kobe loved it. You know how it is when you give a player something that
Yeah.
works, you got them. Kobe made like 15 of them that's just clean. And he finished up, dapped us up, and he went in the locker room. Well, this is the part that was cool for me. Rudy said he used to call me Shake and Bake. He said, "Shake and Bake, let's get some shots." I'm like, "With me?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, let's shoot." Me and Rudy shot baskets like me and you would shoot, just shooting and talking trash and laughing.
Yeah.
Bro, it was one of the coolest moments I have as a coach. I was on the basketball for like 25, 30 minutes just shooting like we're at the park with Rudy. He was trying to turn it off.
Yeah.
He was searching. He went back to basketball. He did a long walk. He did his music. He tried everything he could, and he couldn't turn it off. And so, because his stress level was getting higher and higher with the job and all the stuff that came along with it. And that's when he stepped down. He stepped down because he said for his health, he was afraid that he was gonna mess himself up. And he steps down, and as soon as he stepped down, because we tried to talk him out of it. I remember saying, "Coach, you can be the figurehead until you get things right.
You
We
get
got
thing right.
yeah, we had a good staff. We was like, we got you. We can take care of it." But he was like, "No, it was too much for him." And so when he stepped down, and they brought Kurt Rambis back, and B. Shaw came back with him.
Yeah.
And so it was cool. We got and Frank Hamlin, rest his soul.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Hamlin was the interim, and I remember Frank saying, "Mama, don't let your children grow up to be interim."
Cowboy.
No, that was his interview. He did that. Frank was a wild boy, and
Wow.
so like Frank,
Oh man.
I remember being in the Detroit in the Pistons shower in the locker room at halftime. Frank he got a cigarette. He's like,
Wait a
"Man,
minute, cuz. Wait a minute. He wasn't smoking like Dice Clay, was he?
hey," my man was like, "Man, I can't take this. I can't take." It was so much that went along with that job and
Yeah.
coaching Kobe Bryant. Man, it was just the expectations. Well, Kobe, it was hard, and they went right back to the triangle. Kobe said, "Yeah, he was kind of wishy washy." He went back to the
Yeah.
old girlfriend. He was
Yeah.
like, "I know the triangle." The hard thing for him with us was he wasn't empowered because he didn't know our stuff. So
Yeah.
we had to go through that, the hiccups and the hard part to get empowered because he was a man. And we gave him the keys. And they gave him the key. They boycotted trades. They wanted Kobe to have his own team, which
Mm-hmm.
he deserved clearly.
Yeah.
Um, and he had never been a leader. Derek Fisher was the leader. He
Yeah.
had never been a leader, and so it was a different role for Cole. And again, that picture you pulled up with me palming his head talking, that picture is valuable to me because yeah, that picture right there. When you look at our eyes, how we're talking to each other, man, that picture says a whole lot. There was respect, there was love, there was he knew my warts, I knew some of his warts. It
Mm-hmm.
was really cool because I watched him turn into a leader on
Yeah.
his own. It was the coolest thing because he what man. I can honestly tell stories where Kobe didn't want to come to practice. The Mamba.
Yeah.
But he knew that he had to because we gave him the keys to the kingdom and said, "Hey man, this yours. I mean, let's go. We go as you go." And I come and young fella, he didn't want to do it every day because it was hard, but he did it. He got it done. And so, man, it was a cool time for me because I watched him, like I said, I watched him take a step as a man. I remember
Yeah.
one day I asked him about on an off day, because you and I, we can't appreciate like the little things. Like if you want to go to church with your family, what you do, yeah,
Go to church.
go to church. If you want to
Yeah.
go to the movies, go to the
Let's go.
movie.
Yeah.
Well, we had an off day one time. We had an off day one time, and I remember talking to Kobe at the basket. We shooting free throws, everybody's rotating. He got to me and he's shooting. And I said, man, we need to knock these out. I said, because man, I'm getting up out this mud. I said, I said, yeah, I'm going to church with my wife, my kids. And I was like, what you gonna do? He said, man, I wish I could just on a whim just go to church. I said, why can't you? He said, Mel, he said, when I go to church, he said, I have to, the day before, I have to have my security team go and check out the grounds and go through the building. They have to do like an escape route, like you do with the president. He
Yeah.
said, even where the car leaves and where it parks, he's have to go through that whole thing. He said, my security detail has to come the day before and do all this. He said, I can't just do anything sporadic.
Right. It got to be planned out.
You got to be, and that just hurt my heart for him. I mean, and I really, like I'm telling you, it bothered me. I was like, dang, the things that I take for granted,
Right.
he just didn't do. MJ went through that. Remember, MJ said
Yeah.
I remember one time MJ said he never saw the beginning of a movie and the ending of a movie at a theater. He always
Hmm.
came in after the fact. And I was like, that's stuff we take for granted. But
Yeah.
Cole, I remember, so like that picture, man, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of ups and downs in that picture. And I mean, what a blessing for me, because when I got to LA, I remember praying about it, asking God, like, what do you have for me? What is it here that
Yeah.
you want to accomplish? And I was thinking these big like basketball things. Well, when I look back on it now, I think a lot of the reason why God had me there was to live out being a godly man, which was
Mm.
cool because you don't think they looking? And I came in one day humming an Usher song. I'm just humming Usher, and and this is what was cool. It was Devin George. He said, "What's a good godly man like you humming Usher?" I said, "I like Usher.
Okay.
I like Usher.
Ursher. That's right. I like Ursher.
I like Usher." But the point was, it just let me know that they're watching. I call myself a godly man. They're watching. Okay, is this legit or is he fronting? And
Yeah.
so when I look back on that time, I understand that God had me there not just for basketball, but He
Yeah.
had me there to try to live out who I said I was as a man. You
Well,
know,
see, yeah, I'm telling you, what you not gonna do? Because I'm actually glad you. Because I could go right. Yeah, but I was in script. No, because what you're saying is gonna tie into some things in a minute. That's why, like I said, I wanted. Man, listen, I told you when I decided to. The date was October 18th of 23. When I decided I'm gonna do, I said I've been thinking about it for a couple years. I'm gonna do a podcast, and I just
yeah,
started thinking you was actually number two on my list. You really were. Now we on episode 442, but I know God has His divine order.
He got his order. He got his shot. That's right.
Yeah, but I'm actually glad it's in here. Okay, now look here. We can go on. We can do here. So again, I'm gonna go back again about work and your merit. How your work precedes you. It catapult you to another situation. God not gonna put you in another situation if you have not prepared and did the things that you're supposed to do, not just in your profession, just with Him and in your family and everything. So, Lord have mercy. You end up, tell me. So I'm thinking now, you now going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Am I thinking this has got to be what, LeBron year three?
Two. It
Oh,
was the
year two.
second.
So Silas had him as a rookie, right?
Yep.
Okay, so now where was Brown prior to that year? Was because he wasn't on the staff.
Right. Mike, it's funny. Mike was an assistant for the Spurs, and then, um, Mike's, Mike's a little younger than I am, like months, like 6 months maybe younger than I am.
Mm.
So Mike used to bring guys. I tell you, guys would come down to Houston to play pickup in the summer.
Yeah.
Mike was a young assistant coach. He was bringing Spurs down. Him and Budenholzer, him and Coach Bud.
Okay.
Budenholzer, they
Okay.
would bring Tim Duncan, Steven Jackson, whoever they had on their team, Antonio Daniels. They would come to our gym, and it would be a San Antonio, a Spurs team. John Lucas lives in Houston still to this
Yeah.
day. He had a Cleveland Cavaliers team. We obviously had our team. Woody, Mike Woodson would bring a team from Atlanta. Denver, when Lukey went up there, Nick Van Exel, McDice, they all lived in Houston. So man, we had like high end. I would have 25 NBA guards, not level, NBA on teams guards in my drills sometimes before they would play. Sam Cassell, uh, um, um,
Very talented, very underrated.
they don't even know. Damon Stoudemire, they got no clue. They got no
Yeah.
taught me how to play in the post, but that's a whole nother deal.
Yeah.
Sam, but like I
Yeah.
would have all these NBA guards in our gym, and so Mike Brown was one that would bring a group of guys. So as young assistant coaches, we would talk before we would play each other. Didn't have a great relationship, but we knew each other. And so Mike had gotten a job as associate head coach for the Pacers under Rick Carlisle.
Okay.
Under Rick Carlisle. And so Mike did that for a short time because he was there with the Brawl. Mike was
Yeah.
in the Palace.
The
And
Malice,
so
yeah.
Palace in the Palace. And so Mike gets a job with Cleveland. He offers me a job. I turned him down. I
Okay.
prayed about it. And I was in LA with no job. I was actually going to try to start a training business. I had a guy that was wanting to build me a gym. He wanted to build it in Texas in the coast, Corpus Christi, and we had looked at some other. He wanted to hire me and my wife to train players as Christians. I was going to have the full, we were going to do the nutrition, the whole deal, the stuff that they're doing now. A guy wanted to hire me to do that, and I had a client list of how many people I had. Dude, I had all kind of folks that I was going to tap into, but I wasn't sure about it. And so when Mike called, I turned him down. And and he called back, and I gave him some names of some other dudes to hire. And again, I'm unemployed now. And being unemployed in LA is different than being unemployed in Louisiana. Bro, you ain't got no money at the crib, you can make it. You in LA, bro, you stuck. And so
you in ski mask mode.
right. Break yourself. but Mike called me back and asked about a couple of guys, and so we talked, and I've been praying about it, and I had a piece. My wife and I had a piece about taking another job in the NBA, but we didn't have any offers. Let me show you how God works. A day later, I get a call from Mike. Mike calls me back. Him and Danny Ferry. Danny Ferry was the other guy that was pushing for me, trying to get me. He was a GM. Mike was the coach, and Danny was a GM, and they both through the Spurs both knew me.
Yeah.
And so he says, Mike says, "Man, do you have any more names?" He went down the line of the guys. And he was like, that ain't what I'm looking for. So
right.
He says to me, he said, "Do you have any more names?" I said, "Yeah, I got a name." He said, "Who? Who you got?" I said, "Melvin Hunt." He said, "Mel, stop playing, bro."
Right.
Like you play too much. Like stop playing. I said, "No, I'm Melvin Hunt." I said, I want to do it, Mike. I said, I have a piece about it. He respected the fact that I went through my process.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Okay." And so we started working, and I ended up getting the job, and we got a little snag. And Danny was great as far as like moving the money around. They helped me because this was I had just moved from Houston to LA, and not after 1 year, and now I was going to Cleveland, and I was financially, this is tough.
Yeah.
So he moved money around and made it work for me, thankfully. And so we took the job in Cleveland. We get there, and LeBron is young LeBron, and it was again timing. God has placed me in some rooms and some gyms, bruh. That's crazy because LeBron was learning to be LeBron.
Yeah.
he knew how good he was, but he kind of didn't. Well, the other young coach that was with us, this is gonna make you laugh, was Michael Malone.
Oh wow,
Me and Mikey Mo came the same day. We,
wow, that's yeah. Well, I ain't gonna lie. Well, because I didn't. Well, I know his dad, had did this stuff, because I know his dad was with Pistol, whatever. But we're gonna get into that. But I ain't gonna lie. I just said, man, F Mike Malone after the Denver. But that's all, I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, am I biased? Yeah. So
I loved
now,
it.
yeah,
I loved it. I
yeah, I ain't
loved
gonna lie. I was. Yeah, yeah. And during that time, I was
it.
still kind of in the world, one
Look,
foot in, one foot out. I said, hey,
that's great.
time out this time, Lord. Look here, let me get this one in.
I needed 20. I needed 20. I needed 20.
I need 20. So, okay, so here you are. So
Yeah.
you might Mike Brown, you in the mix. Now, you coming in now, okay, obviously you know LeBron, obviously he's a phenom or whatever. So obviously you probably had I don't go so far as say preconceived notions, but what you thought about him, was there anything that you was right about, anything you was wrong about, or anything that surprised you about him? Not
Uh,
just as a player, but just as an individual.
no, that's where I was going with it. Couple things. The first thing is, if he walked in this room right now, first thing he would say is Helvin Munt, and I'd say Jabron Lames. That was our little joke. We did a little funny, switch the letters of your name,
Yeah.
and we would get to basketball. Maybe 10, 15 minutes in, maybe we would be talking about so many other things other than basketball. Um, the thing about the relationship that we have is, yes, basketball, but it was everything. My kids were concerned about LeBron because they knew he was not married to Savannah,
Wow.
and they knew like, okay, you're supposed to be a good example, and they knew what a good example was, and he living with, and they like, well, is that his wife? And I was like, yeah, well, I'm trying to tap dance
Now,
too.
how old was Miles and Britt in? I mean, at this point.
Shoot. Well, Miles was born in 2000, so Miles was 5,
Mhm.
and so Braille was 7, 8. You
Okay.
know, they these are little kids, but they're asking the right questions. And we were there 5 years, so Miles was 10 when we left, Braille 13. When we left Cleveland, but they're asking the right questions, and they're like, "Mommy and Daddy," you know,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they're asking those questions, and you fast forward later on when LeBron got engaged to Savannah, became public knowledge and everybody was excited for LeBron and Savannah. My kids got them an engagement gift out of their own money. They didn't even want to go to the game. We were in Denver. They didn't even go to the game. They went to the hotel. They had me take them to the hotel to drop off his engagement gift. In
Wow.
fact, he didn't even actually get a chance to come down because I think they were doing something else, but they wanted to drop it off in a little gift bag. So that relationship, that was really unique. It was a unique time to be around him. Um, that part, and like the best thing was this kind of messed me up. Uh, he made me get on my game. One day, he wasn't a talker, so I couldn't get him to talk. And like a lot of young kids, he wouldn't talk. So you
Mhm.
had to be really skilled in the way you frame your questions, open ended. So he would talk, he would elaborate because he would give you yeah, no, yes,
No.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a typical young kid, young dude. Well, and like his mama is some months older than me.
Okay.
Gloria is
Yeah.
married. So you're dealing with a dude that could be your son almost like.
Right. Right.
So I called him in one day, and at the time my office was under the stairs. I shared an office with a guy, Wes Wilcox, who was one of the general managers for the Sacramento Kings. We were both young, but we shared an office under the stairs. It was slanted. I mean, it was terrible space before we built the new practice facility. But we shared a little space. So I was like, he was like old school. I was like, Wes, you can't be in it tonight because I'm having a player over. Because it was too small, we couldn't all fit in there. I was like, I'm having a player come over. We're gonna watch film. And Wes is like, cool. So LeBron comes in hours after practice. He comes in there, and I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of them times I'm like, I'm flexing. I'm pulling out my Team Olajuwon card. I'm pulling out my Charles Barkley card. We drafted Yao Ming card.
Yeah.
Coach Kobe card. Bruh, for real, I'm ready. Because I got this young stud, who's going to be great. And I'm ready. I'm armed and dangerous, dog. I got stuff. I got Lamar Odom, USA basketball. I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever he gonna sling at. So I thought, man, we sitting in there and I'm showing him film and we're talking about basketball stuff. And I'm like, here's my moment. Here's my moment to backpedal, young fella, to get him to hear me. I said, man, where you want to take this? Like, what you want this to turn? What do you want the ending of all this that you're doing of your career to be? Hey, I'm ready. Just like you ready for this. You prepared. I'm like,
Yeah.
if he this, I got him with this. If he says I want to be all pro, I got all pros. If he says I want to make Olympic, I got that. I have whatever. I said, if he talk about being one of the greats, I got Kobe. I got Dream. I got Barkley at the time. I said, I'm good. I said, where you want all this to go? And he kind of looked at me. And I said, I said, what do you want out of this? What do you want this? I didn't know legacy. I wasn't smart enough to say that. I was like, what you want this to be? You know what this brother said to me, Yay?
Hmm.
He said, I want to be a global icon. In 2006, whatever it was, man, did
Yeah.
nobody know what a global icon was? I had
Yeah.
never heard that. Bro, I didn't know what it was when he said it, but I had to play it off like I did. And I was slick enough to kind of say, well, whatever it is that you want, it starts with your work. If you're working in the gym, I said basketball is going to take you to be a
Take it away,
global.
right?
Basketball will lead you to being, I just went that route. When he left, I started looking up global. Bro, I did not know what that meant,
Yeah.
literally.
Because I guess like, of course, with hindsight now, but probably what he was saying at that time, the only person who would come to mind would be Michael Jackson, or probably
I got one more for you, Muhammad
who
Ali
Muhammad. Yeah, right.
and Michael
Yeah,
Jackson, though. But
yeah.
those, that's, I mean,
People, yeah, global, yeah. Because actually, well, you can arguably say, yeah, Muhammad was the first in terms of, because like I said, because people, everybody throw that icon word around now, just throw it around,
yeah,
but truly, yeah, wow,
there's a
yeah,
handful of them. Because like you talking about greats that weren't icons. Like
yeah,
they, like you go to a certain country, they could walk down the street and people walk right past them.
right,
You Muhammad Ali, you walking in Africa, they like Muhammad. You walking in Europe, those are global. Wherever they go on the globe, they are recognized. And so when this boy said this to me, like people were just starting to talk about their brands.
yeah,
I want to protect my brand. Well, LeBron was talking about being a global icon. Like when he left out of there, I had to look it up and try to like know what he was talking about. And when I look back now, he's exactly what he said he wanted to be. And it's amazing for him to have that type of vision as
at that
as a
age.
20-year-old.
So even,
Go ahead.
yeah, no, man, it's just because like I don't get into all that, back and forth because I know, like I said, I know for me, I was always Jordan. But see, that's another reason. It's even some people who know basketball I can't talk about when it comes to LeBron because because I said, first of all, your disdain for him is not even justified. I said,
No.
"What did you see him in the store? Did it slap your mama? I mean, did he? I mean, the disdain. So for me, it's like certain things you just can't deny because when you think about, I mean, everything. I mean, how he exceeded. How can you exceed it, the chosen one? So I mean, so I don't. It just amazes me. I'm okay again. You ain't remember this. You called me. You said, "Yeah, I don't." He said, "Who you think is the fastest in the league?" I, I was throwing some names. He's like, "Nope." He's like, "Nope." He's like, "Nope." I said, "Who?" He said, "Man, LeBron." He said, "He is the fastest one in the league." He said, "I'm telling you." He said, it's amazing. He said, somebody that big I just remember you saying that.
Bro, it took my breath away, bro. There's one story in particular. I remember this sitting on the bench, and Rashard Lewis was with Seattle.
Yeah,
That's how fast it was. Rashard was
yeah,
with Seattle, and I knew Shard because I knew Rashard from Houston.
yeah,
He's always be in our gym, and his two best friends are some little twins. They were like two little bitty, like 5'9" little killers that could hoop, and
yeah,
Rashard was everywhere. So during the game, going back and forth at home game. Rashard shoots a shot at the top of the key, gets back on defense. He's the first one back as a four, but he shot a top of the key jumper, so he just gets back.
yeah,
LeBron gets like a long outlet. I think it was a long outlet. It wasn't a rebound, but it was a long outlet because I remember grabbing it from behind him and pushing the ball out in front of him. So he grabbed it and he's gone. He just pushes it out. And so, like kind of like Giannis does. You know how Giannis will
yeah,
get it. So he kind of
yeah,
pushed it out in front. So as soon as he grabbed it and pushed out in front, I immediately looked towards the basket to see what's back there. And so if we got to get wings running, whatever. Well, LeBron went so fast, he turned it into a one-on-one with Rashard. Rashard is at the top of the key. And I'm glad I looked at Rashard, because if I wouldn't have looked at Rashard, I'd have thought it was a sniper in the building. Rashard is standing at the top of the key with his arms out. And LeBron grabs the ball, takes one dribble, takes two dribbles, and just does that. Just a quick little, and he goes by Rashard. It looked like he did that right there to Rashard's shoulder. Like he just did that right there, right? He went to the basket and dunked it. I didn't even see the dunk because I watched Rashard. When he hit Rashard grabs his shoulder, runs out of the gym, was out a month, separated shoulder.
Wow.
Separated the man's shoulder, and it looked like he did that to him. That's how fast and how much force. Like people don't realize. Like, man, the boys, they laughed and they talked about me, the coaches, because I was like, well, if we were working on a scout for LeBron, and I was talking about build a wall. I said if he's coming down full speed, you got to angle him, and they was like, it's like you angling.
Yeah. All that sound good.
Like you angling, and I caught myself. I was like, yes, I don't know how you angling. If he coming at you full speed, you can't make him go where you want him to go. Ole. Exactly. Because like watch this. If you guess right, you really ain't guessing right because you're gonna get hurt. So because if he gets a runway, it's like he's. But I remember that, and I remember talking to you about how fast he was. Because like people didn't realize how fast. Man, that brother is so. And watch this. When you just look at athletes, and you got a great eye. I remember that about you. You know an athlete. You know when you know the pigeon toe. You know the way they gait. You know the smooth. You know we all. If you got the eye, you got the eye. Well, how many guys do you know that are incredible athletes that are slew foot?
Yeah.
Handful.
I could just kind of think of one. Just that. I mean, just like I personally saw him. Like Alfonso Ford was from Mississippi Valley. Yeah, Al Ford was. But it ain't many. It ain't many.
I mean, you can name on one hand. Like most people, like they're out there, obviously, but most people know one guy. I know one. Like LeBron is the one guy that's slew foot. That is an incredible athlete. That normally is not. It doesn't work like that. And so to see a guy slew foot, that's fast because we used to all try to fake like we was pigeon toed. Try to walk like we was pigeon toed.
It was cool.
It was cool. It was cool to be pigeon toed. But I remember having that conversation with you because I was telling people, I was like, anybody who would listen, I was like, man, y'all just don't know. Like some of the stuff he did in practice, it was again, what a blessing to be able to see some of this stuff at the ground, at the cutting edge, at the cutting room. With his brother, I remember he never dunked with his left hand. He's like, man, I ain't never even thought about doing that. And then he started working on it. And before you know it, he's because he's obviously he's ambidextrous.
Yeah.
The brother, he swears. And I say, that's so cap. I am not believing this. He said, man, because he writes left-handed, signs all his autographs left-handed. He can throw a football with either hand. I mean, he's got both. But the brother was like, I said, well, how'd you end up being left? He said, well, what happened was when I first started playing sports, playing basketball, they gave me basketball and they said, shoot 5 with your left, 5 with your right. He said, I went, urban legend. He said, I went 3 for 5 with my left and I went 4 for 5 with my right. So I said, I'm going to be right-handed. So I'm like, boy, get on with that. But he can definitely shoot with his left like that. So like just seeing some of the stuff, seeing him turn into who he turned into, it's pretty remarkable.
It's crazy. You know what? I would because like I said, Jordan is still like a guy, but like I said, I got no, because man, listen, when it comes to, I think in terms of talking about basketball, when it comes to the basketball, I may have bias in some other areas in life, but I don't cheat. I don't lie. I don't care if you're just a horrible person. But which, like I said, I don't think. I said, how you I don't can't say it. You don't even know him. But here's the thing. So, but my thing, I thought when you guys went to the finals in 07, I said, because I always give both sides stuff for their argument. I say, LeBron fans, use that 2007 loss as something you're possible. I said, so what I would do, all these guys, I would text them the roster. No disrespect to your squad, Melvin.
But disrespect.
That squad, first of all, had no business beating the Pistons. That's number one.
No business.
No business. So I said, he got swept by the Spurs. I said, they had no business in the finals. I said, so when I look at that, so let me ask you this. So you guys go to the finals. Now, obviously you go in there huge underdog, obviously. But what was that experience like?
The best. It was. I'm gonna tell you what it was. It was a classic example of we had our Super Bowl getting to the Super Bowl. Detroit was our Super Bowl. I mean, we hoisted that trophy because they were big brother. We could never beat them. Right. They were better than us. You know, they were just better than us. Detroit was, and so we got beat up. Like Jordan had his coming to his moment where he had to fight through the Pistons and get there. Yeah. Well, ours was the same way with the Pistons. Like people don't realize we beat them 4 straight.
Yeah, right.
They were 2-0 at home, and we beat them 4 straight. That was the craziest. Like, you talking about getting goosebumps? That was the craziest run. They were better than us. We had the best player. Period. I said it. Hey, the Wizards with Gilbert Arenas, man, their team was better than our team. I'm here to tell you. You ain't gonna get no. They were better than us. I told Gilbert that they were better than us. We had the best player.
Yeah.
And we utilized our best player. Our second best player during that run was our defensive system. Was Mike Brown's system. We were really good defensively, which allowed us to score easily, and we could manipulate the game enough to get LeBron the basketball. He was our best everything. Like he's been on most teams, obviously. But man, making that run, when we beat Detroit 4 straight, I was like, you go back and look, but wasn't no gray in that beard. But that's a handsome brother right there. Right there. Hey, that dude right there.
You are so humble.
Yes.
I would tell you something. What was that? Was the game? What was that when he had like scored y'all last 25? I'm
No,
gonna tell you something. What's the big guy? Because he's like about 6'7". They played the power forward for Pistons.
Jason
LeBron
Mack.
had him at Maxi. Was it?
Yeah.
Was it? No, not Maxi. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
LeBron had him at the top of the key. He went to the leg, did a little shake and cross. Listen, and like when he got by him, LeBron had said, "You know what? I'm about to dunk this thing." He got and dunked that. I mean, I was like, he dunked that so hard. I wish I had been thinking about it. I would have put that clip on there, man. Because once he's delivered and went by him, man, he dunked that one. I was like, Lord have mercy.
Man, he did some things like Tayshaun Prince could guard, man.
Yeah,
He couldn't guard him. They
too
put
light,
Chauncey.
behind too.
Chauncey could guard.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
mean,
too little,
he
too little.
every like, and it was so funny, man. This is what was kind of cool about the whole time was he didn't realize it. That's like dudes you said, man, he don't know his own strength. Like he got on the coach. He got mad at us one time, man. McDyess. Look, you look at McDyess's measurables. He's LeBron. They're built the same.
Yeah, country strong.
Country strong. I
Yes,
remember Brian, like they were hedging. They would jump out and hedge hard. Ben Wallace, all them dudes, they would jump out and hedge hard.
So when you guys hedged, did y'all trap or was y'all retreating back to your man?
At that time, it would be hedge and back. It was jump out and recover. It was we call it short recover. Recover. And you had blitzes. A blitz is you keep two on the ball.
Yeah, that's right.
You have both, but all of them started with remember Michigan State, boy, they used to jump out. Izzo had his boys jumping out. They would scare you. You fall down almost. Like just being violent and aggressive, right?
Yeah.
Well, Dyson would jump out, and LeBron was like, I'll never forget this. We're going over it in practice. He's like, man, I can't go at them big old dudes jumping out. We're like, big old dudes? You're bigger than he was like, you're bigger than all of them.
Right.
But in his brain, the difference, like early on, the difference between LeBron and Nate Robinson. When Nate Robinson looked into a mirror at 5'9", he looked into a mirror, he saw 6'10", 275 pounds. He saw the baddest man. He saw King Kong. Yeah. When LeBron looked into the mirror, LeBron always saw himself as a point guard.
Yeah.
He saw himself as a distributor, as a small guard, as a skilled guard. He didn't see the Hulk. He saw, and it was crazy because we literally, whether we showed him or he just had to learn over time, he had to really embrace the fact that you realize you're the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Yay. And that's what was kind of refreshing. He wouldn't even know it. He wouldn't, like, I remember we talked about posting up. Everybody said, oh, he never had a post game. He always had a post game. Nasty. Like, come on now. Now here's another little baby flex. I spent all that time with a king.
Right.
How to throw a jumper. He taught me how to throw a jumper. I didn't know how. He taught me that shot. I learned that from watching the King and spending time in the gym. So, we helped LeBron with his jump hook. He had one. He had a righty and lefty. He could get to the middle and find the corner. He could get to the middle, pump fake you, and find whoever he wanted to on the court. So he always had it. But it wasn't a point. That wasn't a point guard. That wasn't
his mindset, right? Yeah.
It wasn't his mindset. And so for me, it was fun watching him grow into
what, right?
Because he already had. It's like he already had it, and like it would come out like if he didn't like somebody, like at the time he didn't like Richard Jefferson, and I don't know if you know the reason why he didn't like Richard Jefferson, and they're tight now, they're boys now. He didn't like Richard Jefferson because they were on the first Olympic team. Remember the Olympic team that Larry Brown coached?
Yeah, what was that? 04.
Right, and they weren't very good.
Yeah.
Well, Richard kind of vetted them, like, you young cats, you young boys, y'all need to,
Wade and all, yeah.
And them young boys, it was Melo, him, D Wade.
Yeah.
They was better than the old dudes, but they just was young. And they just were younger. And so Larry Brown was going to go with the older dudes. Well, LeBron that hurt him. That they didn't play him. They didn't play those guys that much. And so He did not like Richard Jefferson. So what I tell you, when we played Jersey,
He
we had to
was
say we had to say nothing about being
he was
physical.
going in. Hey, he was going. You know what? I talked about this, and me and this dude got into it. I said, okay, this conversation is over. We was talking about the limit that year, and for me, and like I said, Larry Brown was always a guy, coach. I respect his mind, but for me, I think defensively he blew it in the Olympics because during that time, everybody shoot three down. Because over here we are taught the helpline. We come help. They want you to help so they can kick out for three. And I'm like, he never adjusted to that. We are doing, of course, way we're taught in America, we were doing the right thing, but for the international game, that's what they wanted us to do, and he never adjusted to that. And I'm like, man, he said, man, you ain't no coach. I said, well, you're wrong. I am.
Right.
But yeah, I know what I'm talking about because they were getting uncontested,
Let,
and
let,
yeah,
let me tell you the simple adjustment. It wasn't scrap. Like I think Larry done wanted to scrap what like maybe his dilemma was, I know this is tried and true, this is good basketball. I can't go away from it. No one was saying go away from it, but we're just saying instead of two-way help, just do
yeah,
one-way help. Just be
yeah,
in early, and then you
yeah.
can get out. Man, we were running in, tagging rollers, running in, and they go, and they were just jaying us
And
because
that's a long, fiery recovery.
a
Yeah,
two-way recovery on
yeah,
a good team.
oh yeah, you can't close out on that.
Yeah, and
You
so
can't close out on that.
the adjustment should have been be in early, fly out late, and we never made that adjustment. And like now everybody does it.
Yeah,
You know,
and and here's the thing, I'll be like, so I got to the point. I was like, we're more athletic. Stay home and let them finish over the one that's guarding you. If you can do it, hey, hats off to you.
right?
You know what I'm saying?
And you-
So
You're exactly right. I wouldn't have. You didn't have to give that much help.
that much, right?
You could have stayed home and played it 2-on-2. Like now, doing USA basketball, the whole deal that we try to do with USA basketball is you just want to switch. Switching this, most of the international teams, they have more time together. They have more,
Yeah,
feel for each other. They know corporate knowledge. They've been around each other. So you can disrupt their plays by just switching. And a lot of old heads don't like the switching, but the reality of it is if you have a team that's switchable, if you have, watch this, if you have that old Illinois team with Steve Bardeau and Kendall Gill, you got
yeah,
all them light parts. They were all good
yeah.
6'5", 6'6", 6'7".
666 battle,
Yeah,
Hamilton,
battle.
all the cats.
All them dudes. When you got that team, that's another handsome brother right there. He even went with the little grown man fro.
Yeah,
Uh, but when you have that type of a team, you can just switch. That's why
yeah,
Drew Holiday is so valuable to every team he goes to because he's big enough and he's strong enough to guard,
yeah,
to hold his own on the switch. But like a lot of people don't like switching, which I understand. But that would have been another way for that Olympic team to be pretty. Just switch and stay
yeah.
home.
You're
Switch.
right.
They're not going to beat you. Those a couple of those twos and them finishing over length, that's not going to beat you. But them threes will. The threes are
Yeah,
the great equalizer. Hey, and jumping around. That's why I can't wait to watch this series with the Pacers
yeah, yeah.
and the Thunder.
Yeah, yeah. Hold up, we gonna get to because listen,
Yeah.
this is one guy at my job, engineer, white guy. Me and him, we talk sports all the time. I love talking to him. We was talking about that today, man. Now I'm gonna I'm gonna try to jump this around, but I'm gonna say this here now, because I'm gonna tell you something. See, again, I remember now. Hold on, now this ain't what I want. This is what I want right here.
Oh
Okay,
man.
I see you there right there here. Now I don't know if you was with Denver, which we're gonna get to Denver in a minute. Hey, I told y'all, hey, it's this brother got a lot of stuff going on here, and thing about not enough people know who you are, bro. So that's why I've been wanting to put this on. But um, you, I don't know if you was with Denver or Dallas. I want to say you was with Denver, but I know we was gonna go out to dinner. He said, man, No, I can't, man. I said, well, I want to see. He said, wait, look at that. Come by, y'all standing in the Ritz Carlton. I came down to see you. So you said, I'm staying in because you was doing some offensive stuff. And you said, yeah, man, most of the black coaches in the league,
Mm.
they look at us as deep defensive guys. And I don't know which team they give me the opportunity now to do that. I said, it was kind of like in football, like all head coaches was always defensive coordinator. He said, bro, no, look at it. He said, listen, and you was cool. You chill with me, but I know you wanted to get back to work. So I think I may have stayed just about an hour. But and you said, so I'm saying all that to say this here. Is it universal like that throughout out the league? Well, I'm sure it may have had to change some. Is they look at
Yeah,
the black guy as a defensive guy?
it's changing. Football is a microcosm of sports in a lot of ways. Football, it was the defense, defensive minded guys like Lovey Smith, uh,
Art
um,
Shell.
Shell,
Yeah.
Aaron Glenn, with the
Yep.
Jets,
Yeah.
DeMarco, with the Texans, you know,
Yeah.
those guys, like the first thing that's mentioned is tough, gritty, and
Yeah.
all, and those are great compliments.
Yeah.
I love that. Those are
Dungy, the defensive guy. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the first thing that's said, and it's almost like it catches people off guard when you don't speak of them, of the black coaches as that, but like typically you hear cerebral,
Yeah.
guru,
Yeah.
offensive genius. You hear
Yeah.
those terms with the white counterparts, and none of it's there's not truth in any of it, to be
Yeah.
honest, because a lot of times you just need the opportunity. I
Right.
mean, I know some gritty, tough white dudes that are great. That would be great defensive minds. I've coached on staffs with guys that are great defensive minds, or white dudes. But that whole gritty thing, it's like you go to the park. You know what I'm about to where I'm going. Go to the park. The brothers. You think they all athletic, and they think the white
Yeah.
guys are all cerebral. I remember when we played in high school. Our team, McCall High School, we played against Trafton Academy. They had a white dude that ended up playing in the NFL, wide receiver, Ty Kitchen. He was a nice receiver, ran back punts and kicks. Well, we played them. They were physical and nasty and just gritty. And then McCall, we were cerebral in the mug. And
Yeah.
we were smart. We played with energy, but we were a smart team. We played together. And so those myths are just that. They're myths.
And it's funny, man, because my guys, like we won the state championship in '89. My coach did that on purpose because I personally thought he put the game on the line because and I'm listening. I go on YouTube every now and then, still watch the game. Hear the guys, the announcers talking about who've never seen us play. They said, I'm really impressed how patient they are. We literally, everybody, Blue Pride, stand up. Y'all know we literally sometimes in practice will have to throw 50 to 60 passes. And every time we catch a square, if we do our rotation, everybody catch a square, V cut, and cut. So we in the win, I say championship about 4 with this team. We averaged 78. I still feel to this day, if we'd have played with regular, I think we'd have beat them up. That was a good team, though. But I think we'd have beat them about 15 to 20. But
Uh-huh.
he wanted to show. And it's funny you say that because they do that same thing in education. Listen, I have my administrative degree, like I said. So when they get principals, I've been assistant principal, I find out some bull with that. But the point is, they look for black guys who are goons to handle, particularly in the inner city schools. So when I go to those meetings, I make it a point because I got some strategies to do some things discipline wise, but I will make it a point. We're going to talk curriculum.
Well,
Let's
because you're a little bit petty too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A little bit.
I got a
Yeah.
little bit of that.
Yeah, a little bit because so it's really say, hey, they're just going like that. It's really the same spirit. It's the same that they're doing. So when you
Same
was
thing.
telling me, yeah, when you was telling me you get some opportunity to do some offense, that's oh yeah, okay, I get it, I get it.
Yeah,
Now,
because you don't want to get boxed. You don't want to get boxed in. Like even when I took this current job, I remember Coach asking me. He said, "Okay, what are you comfortable with? Are you comfortable which side of the ball? Are you comfortable with the defense?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "No." He said, "No." He said, "Are you comfortable with the offense or the defense?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, are you a good cop or bad cop?" I said, "Yeah." He said, he kept giving me these options. And I said, "Yeah," on purpose. And I and he was like, "Wait a minute." I said, "Coach," I said, "I'm a coach." I said,
right,
"I'm a coach." I said, and to me, the good coaches are the ones who can acclimate and can adjust to whatever they have. If I have a defensive minded team, that's another boy. I like that brother right there too. Uh, if I have a team personnel wise that's built for defense, we're going to be defense first,
yes,
and vice versa. And if I have a driving team, if I have a shooting team, I'm a coach.
yeah,
That true coach. Man, I tell you, there was one time Tony, I respected him sticking to his guns with the way playing the way he played. But there was one time I must admit I knocked him down as a coach. He made the statement with the Lakers that when he first took the Laker job, he said, "I don't know if I can coach this team." And they had Paul Gasol, they had Dwight Howard, they had Kobe, I think they had Ron Artest still, and they had another. They maybe Trevor Reza or it was uh, 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 Fisher. They had a squad,
hmm
and he was saying he couldn't coach that team because he didn't have a stretch four. And I was like, "You give me that crew, I ain't got to stretch nothing." I said,
right.
"I'm gonna figure that out with that
Deal
with that."
with deal with these big guys I got.
Yeah,
You
you can
gonna
deal
deal
with
with
this.
this.
Yeah,
You
you're
gonna
gonna
deal
deal
with
with this, and I'm gonna utilize them in a way that it frees up my guards too. But
yeah,
it just didn't fit his style because you think about it, he always had a stretch four. He always Sean
right.
May, he always had a guy that played that role, and that might be my preference, but it's not my principle. I
Yeah,
may prefer to play like that, but I can coach and do some other things, and so that's I pride myself on that. I hate when I kind of get pushed into, and I've been really blessed, man. God's allowed me on the stats I've gone to. It started me off kind of like a defensive guy or this, that, and the other, and you got to do what you got to do, to get the opportunity, and then you start showing that you can do more and more and more. Um, man, Yay, you play with me. I'm a guard. I hoop
yeah,
like a guard. I think like a guard. I think like a decision maker. On a lot of teams, I get the bigs all the time,
yeah,
and I love it. I mean, my wife said you got more 7 foot European or international kids out there
yeah,
that all them dudes are my boys, and I
yeah,
love having. Watch this. I got Yao Ming on my desk, a
hmm
little Yao Ming figurine.
yeah,
Um, I love that because it shows some versatility,
yeah,
and 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 I know that like I do believe in birth order as far as mindset, like being the oldest or being the youngest. Well, I'm a middle child, and most middle kids we can get along with the oldest, we can get
yeah,
along with the youngest. We just kind of do our thing, and like that's kind of how I am as a coach, man. I love being able to touch both sides of the ball. I
yeah,
love being able to deal with, you know, I'm not just a lot of times they give guys the role of, oh, he's a player's coach. He's a relational guy,
yeah,
just a
yeah,
relational guy, or he's an X and O guy. Boy, you let me get on that board. Yeah, you let me get on that board, you'll be like, man, Mel, I didn't know you had them. I got hits. What they
yeah.
say with
Right.
like, hey, I got a nice little playlist. I got some hits. So,
Listen,
you know,
yeah, yeah. That's what I have to be, man. That's like my last year playing ground, man. I'm looking back now. I was wrong. I was tough, man. But it got to the point where I was the defiant because what was happening was just not right.
right, yeah,
And I was speaking of stuff because, like I said, because I'm telling you something. I learned some stuff from Coach James because offensively of how to score. he just knew how to score every little small little
Yeah,
nuances. But it was still individually. He knew how to get a person to be able to score. But what about the other four guys? So I would battle with that. So I would sometimes be at practice trying to I wasn't really trying to be defiant. And I said, dude, I started playing D because I knew I was going to be able to play. I
right,
said, I listened. I said, you already got your came in, you got dance like all them. I said, them fools know. I said, yeah, I can score. I can do all those. I'm a basketball player, but I knew nobody wanted to be playing D outside of Lamar, and outside of him, and maybe Brent Dunn. But so I think a lot of times you can, and like you said about D'Antoni, because early on I was like that. This is what I do, and then like initially I was taught just straight man to man. But then I watched the tape. I said, why am I playing man to man on these guys? They're really more athletic. I said, and they can't shoot. Why am I playing man to man?
why would I
Getting
do
in
that?
foul trouble. So I changed things. But I never like straight zone. I would have zone with like man principles, not necessarily a matchup,
Sure.
but you know what I'm saying. So I
Yep.
understand that now. Now let me ask you this, man. Now, okay, obviously, you guys go to the finals and all that. Now, when LeBron end up saying, the decision, all that. Now, I'm gonna jump around. This is great, man. Look at y'all. Again, for those who watching, you know how sometimes, well, I don't know, you don't know about this no more, but sometimes in snowstorms you get 15 inches. You got to shovel some, then go in the house.
Oh,
Shovel some back. So y'all, they might have to place a little bit and then just play the next round.
that's right.
But
That's right.
okay, so you end up then, okay, after Cleveland, you end up going to the Denver Nuggets. Now, how did that come about?
Well, when LeBron decided to take his talents to Miami, I said I'm gonna take my take mine to Denver. No, it's funny. That's kind of a unique story in itself. LeBron does that. They fire Mike Brown. Danny Ferry did not want to fire Mike. Danny actually, he was CR GM. Danny said, we'd had a great year. We got beaten the maybe conference finals, something like that. We got ousted. We
To the
they
Celtics, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yeah, it was
Was
the
the
Celtics. And we were built to beat Orlando or vice versa. One of them, we built our team to beat Orlando. I think the Celtics got us. We were built to beat Orlando. That's why we brought in Shaq to deal with Dwight Howard, and we were built to beat them. And then Boston ended up clipping us. Boston ended up getting us in the second round. That's what it was, and that was when they had already made the puppets,
Yeah, right.
the Kobe puppet and the LeBron
Yeah,
puppet.
yeah. The whole, yeah,
Yeah, that whole deal. And like we were the team, but we ran into Boston, and they were, we probably shouldn't have played the bigs that we played. We probably should have played some of our younger, more athletic bigs. But again, we had spent a lot of money, and we were built again to beat Orlando. So
hmm
we lose that. We lose that, and they get on Danny, and about trying to get over the hump. Well, yay, they wanted Danny to fire Mike Brown like it was his fault. And that's why I respect Danny. A lot of people don't know Danny, they may not like him, but one of the things that Danny is loyal. Danny said, if y'all want him gone, you fire him. He said, I ain't
You
doing it.
tell me, right, right.
So they fired Danny and Mike. And Danny was
Wow.
like, I'm out. Like a lot of
Yeah,
people don't know that. Danny just he laid on that sword. He said, I'm not doing it. He said, because Mike doesn't deserve that. So long story short, and then that's also when you got stability.
yeah,
Danny wasn't desperate. Well, they come in with the new GM, Chris Grant, who was already there. They elevated him, and Chris and I are cool, good guy. But Chris brought in Byron Scott.
yeah,
Well, I still had a year on my deal. I still had a year on my contract, and when they brought in Byron, they brought in his staff. We were actually going to be an all black staff because they brought in Paul Pressey. And me
hmm
and Paul might as well be from Delhi, Rayville, Tallulah. He's just a good old down home brother.
yeah.
So we were like going over our
I didn't
stuff.
even, I didn't even realize Paul Preston was on that staff.
Yeah, Press was on that staff, And so
First point forward, point for small
oh,
forward.
he's
Yep.
exactly right.
He's like
And
really is.
and Press is another one like Honey Bun. Honey Bun and Press were like the same dude. Long
Mhm.
arm.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, Press took me in. Like we're going over our scouting report, how we're gonna do it. We had started dividing up the calendar, how we were gonna do everything. And that when you hear people talk about getting a job because you're black or getting a job because you're white or losing a job because you're white or black, it don't even matter. If you get the opportunity, take it. Because this was one of the times I lost a job because I was black. It's just I hate saying it that way, but that was confirmed to me, unsolicited. Um, I had the job. I was good. Me and Byron got along. We still get along to this day. Well, everything's going good, and the GM came to me and said, "Who was the guy I had been working with already? He was a assistant GM. He says, Melvin, we're probably going to end up going in a different direction." And I was like, "Okay." He said because our staff is too similar. You're too much like the staff that we've assembled. And I was like, let me get this straight. Byron Scott played in the league, Press played in the league. I didn't play in the league.
Right.
It was
Right.
like, okay, uh, Byron was like a defensive guy. Press was defense. I was kind of both. I was like, okay, it's not that. I was going through all I was trying to figure out, I'm trying to figure out all things. And I just took it. I said, okay. And they kept my boy, who's a great coach, Chris Jett,
Yeah.
Ohio
Well,
State.
Ohio State. Ohio
Yeah.
State. Yeah.
And
Lefty.
Chris
Yeah.
left.
Yep.
Chris is assistant coach with Charlotte. Well, they told me like it was between me and Jett, and they kept Jett, which was great, which was fine. But don't tell me it's because I'm too much like those other guys.
You
Well,
were too much
yeah,
melanin.
it was. And one of the guys that was there, he ended up leaving. He was assistant GM. He ended up leaving and going somewhere else. And he called me because here I am. I'm doing my research. I'm trying to figure out a career development. What can I do better? How can I be better? And he called me. He said, don't put any time into thinking about that. He said, let me just tell you exactly what it was. He was in the meetings.
Yeah.
We didn't want to we didn't want to have an all black staff.
Yeah. Okay.
I was like, ooh. And so I moved on from that. So, but I was on that staff with him for about a month into the year, like not the season, but prepping and getting ready. And I loved it. Byron was good. He gave me a different way of seeing things. I stole some stuff from him, on the court that I really liked. Press was great. So I'm at the crib. I mean, I'm in Ohio. I got 1 year on my deal. I remember telling my daughter was like, Dad, why are you looking for a job? She's, didn't they say you're getting paid? And I was like, babe, I said, listen, men work. I said,
Right.
God gave Adam a job before he gave him a family.
Right.
He was like,
Absolutely.
and I was modeling that behavior. I said, no, I said, men work. And so, um, long story short, I was like, I was close. I said, I want to be a head coach. I said, I know I'm close. I've learned a lot. I know I can do it. Well, I was going to be the head coach of the Austin Toros, the the G League team that was in San Antonio, in Austin, right outside San Antonio, the Spurs team. Pop brought me down. They offered me the job. It was cool. I was ready to make a lot of mistakes where nobody cared, and I could, hone my craft.
Yeah.
And I get down there. It's great because Quinn Snyder left to be an assistant coach, I think, with
Okay.
Atlanta. And Dale Demps had left too. He was going to be doing something in the front office. So I mean, I was in there, and Taylor Jenkins, the coach for Memphis,
Okay.
he was going to be on my staff. I think he was like an assistant. He was going to be my one assistant coach. But I'm going to take this job. I'm excited about it. I'm down there. Pop gets a call. Him and George Karl are talking. And I had coached George Karl's son, Kobe. I had
Kobe.
coached,
Yeah.
I coached him in Cleveland. And George needed somebody. And it was getting closer to the year. And Pop says, Melvin, you're not going to take this job. I was like, why not? Because I called him. I said, why not? He said, no, what you're going to do is you're going to take this flight to Denver and talked to George Karl. So how cool the Spurs were. Uh, uh, there you go, right there. He Pop sends me that boy clean. You see that blue coming out that tie? You see that powder blue coming out that tie with the pocket square? What? Uh, no. He says, "You're gonna go up there and meet with George," and I was like, "Okay," but I wanted to be. He said, "Melvin, let me just tell you." He said, "I talked with George." He said, "You're not a, you need to just go up there and talk to him." He said, "But he said it's a better job." He said, "The G League is because he knew how close I was to being a head coach." He said, "This G League job is great. It'd be great." It was before. Check this out. Before they started plucking dudes from the G League to be head coaches, the
Yeah.
Nick Nurse
Okay.
and all those dudes, and,
Yeah.
and and Quinn was one of the first one. Quinn ended up eventually becoming a head coach, but that was before they were plucking them like
Yeah.
directly out of there.
Out of right.
Old boy for the Thunder.
The Thunder. Right. Right.
Right. So it was before that was the case. So he said it's a better job. He said just go up there and check it out. And he did that as a favor to me. Pop did. So I go up there and I talk to George. I hang out with him. And Masai Ujiri was the general manager. Well,
Okay.
he wanted me to come up too. And I've been knowing him for like 15 years. I've been knowing Masai. And so I get up there and it was great. And George offers me the job. I end up taking the job. I'm there, and they worked stuff out, And Masai brought me in. He brought me in to be the top assistant, but George and him were kind of at odds, and George didn't want to put his potential replacement, as in case things didn't go well. Your associate head coach is either your boy
Right.
or he's the front office's guy. And so, and I even told George, we went to the preseason and George was so cool. He was up front. He was like, Mel, he said, I don't know you like that. He said, we ain't never
Right.
really come together.
Right. You vibe. Right.
He said, I know these guys and they've been great for me. He said, let's see how preseason goes. He said, and then we'll revisit. I was like, cool. We get to the last preseason game, yay. And he said, well, what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate you guys. He said, and part of the rotating is going to be, he said, Chad Iskey was one of our young assistants. He said, Chad is going to be the guy who takes over if I get thrown out. So essentially, he's the top guy. He said, he's going to be the coach that if I get thrown out of a game, he said, he'll take over it. And I was like, cool. And coach said, but I'm going to rotate you guys. I said, ho, because he was still trying to figure it out. I said,
Right.
Coach, there ain't no way in the world aesthetically you can have the guy who takes your place come from behind the bench.
Yes.
And he come from behind the bench.
Yeah.
I said, that ain't a good look. I said, Coach, no, Chad, if he's gonna be the guy, because it didn't affect me like that. I was like, put him up there. It's great. I mean, I didn't care.
Right. Right.
Let's have him. And coach was like, he thanked me. He thanked me and the other assistant coach for bailing him out because he, Masai wanted me to be there in that spot. And I was like, it's cool. It ain't no thing. So I did it for 3 years. We went to the playoffs. I learned a lot. I learned a lot of what I won't do from Coach Karl. I learned some things. He showed me how to empower players, like offensively. We hooped. That's how we got good. We hooped. Carmello Anthony came to practice every day to hoop. He loved it. He used to be like, yo, man, we ain't doing all them drills. We hooping today.
Yeah.
And we hooped. And like Melo every day showed up to hoop. Well, he was another one. We didn't have him long because, wow, how about that? We didn't have Melo long because they had already done the deal. They were trying to do it
in New York, right?
And I was like, Melo, again, bro. I was like, yo, Smelly. I called him Smelly. I said, yo, dog. I said, we can work this out. I said, bro, you need to stay. And I remember we had on our staff Adrian Dantley.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Dantley.
Yes.
He said, okay, all y'all want Melo out of here. He said, but I'm going to tell you right now, as soon as we get rid of him, guess what we're going to be doing the next day? And they were like, what? He said, looking for Melo. We're going to be looking for another Melo. He said, dudes like that don't come every day. And he was right. The Nuggets until they got Jokic. They never
Mhm.
had a true go-to player. With Coach Carl, we were always pretty good because we had a bunch of good players. We didn't have a
Yeah,
marquee player. And until they got Jokic, that's when they got over the hump. And
yeah.
so AD was right. Adrian, he was right, man. He was right, spot on. But I was there with George for 3 years. We win Coach of the Year. He gets Coach of the Year, 57 wins. We're nice. We're going into the playoffs, getting ready to play Golden State. The Splash Brothers were more like a ripple at the time. They
Right,
wasn't,
right.
and we were better. Draymond, Sag Nasty, stand up. He was a youngster, and they were starting to play him some, but they played him like special situations. We were better than them. We were the 3 seed. They were a 6 seed. We were the
Mhm.
better team. The week before the season ended, Gallinari blows out his knee.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, ACL. It blows up his knee. He's out for the playoffs. We end up playing them, and we still were better. But Mark Jackson was smart. We ran out of bodies. We didn't have enough smalls. We had a bunch of bigs, so they
Okay.
started. I don't know if you remember this. They started Jared Jack,
Hmm.
Steph, Clay, Harrison Barnes,
Gosh, yeah.
and Bogut. Well, we matched up. We could match up with the guards fairly well, but it made Kenneth Fareed, who's a natural, really a short five,
Yeah, short five. Because how tall is really? Is he about 6'5" or 6'6"?
6'6", 6'6", maybe 6'6.5", 6'7", but
Okay.
not 6'7".
Yeah.
Well, Kenneth had to guard Harrison Barnes, who's a guard.
Right.
HB was really a guard, so we couldn't match up with him. Um, we lost game one, I think, and then we won game two. Andre Miller bailed us out, but we couldn't get small enough. We couldn't get small enough because we needed Kenneth on the floor. But when we played Kenneth as a five, it knocked somebody else out the rotation.
Right. Right.
And David Lee was the starter. He was
Yeah.
actually the starter, and
'Cause-
Mark never would. You remember? Mark
yeah.
never
Yep.
would play. He never would play David Lee because David was hurt, but he always would put him in there in the lineup to mess with us. Because if David Lee had played, we would have beat him. Because Kenneth would have had a matchup.
'Cause that's who eventually they got rid of for Draymond
Right,
for Draymond to get more minutes. Right.
right,
They
and
pretty
and
much
like we couldn't match up. We just could not match up with them because they were playing basically four guards, and we were playing 2 to 3 guards at a time, and so it not like JaVale McGee won game 5 for us on the road. He came out and won that game for us. And we played him as a big, and we tried to play small, but he bailed us out. But we were better than them, bottom line, and because they hadn't become who they were going to become, but they end up beating us in 6 again because
just
we couldn't
right.
match up, and Mark knew it too, and it was we had Iguodala. Iguodala was with us.
So, well, let me ask you this. With just this is not in my notes, but from looking at what Gold State became, and for when you guys played with them, in terms of after they changed culture with Kerr, um, was their offense? What changes that you can just definitively say that was different when Kerr took over, or was it?
Draymond was ready for the role. He
Mm-hmm.
was more ready for the role. Iguodala is what really set it off.
Okay.
Iguodala allowed Clay and Steph to play off the ball. I think Mark would have liked to have done it, but he didn't. That's why he played Jared Jack. See, people don't realize
Okay.
that.
Right.
Mark played Jared Jack, who's a good
Yeah.
player.
I forgot Jaren Jack played for them. I forgot. Yep.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
Jared, he was a good player, but Iguodala was a special player. And
Right.
defensively,
Right.
you Jared out there, now you're small. Now you got two little guys in Clay, so you can kind of pick on something. But
Right.
but when you put Iguodala out there, it's harder to pick on him because you've got two big guys with Iguodala and Clay, and then Steph. You like Steph never hurt us. Steph never really hurt us during the regular year when we had our regular team. We would pick on him and
Okay.
get him in trouble. We would post. I
Right.
mean, like him and Dame, we knew that was good. Man, we was
Yeah.
like, you ain't playing tonight. Hey, you gonna play D tonight? That's what we did.
Hey,
Hey,
y'all just seek him out, dog.
and we're like, hey, where you, bro? We were looking for him because that's all we had. Because if you didn't, they were going to destroy you. And so
Yeah,
we would get, man. I'm talking about most of the games we played them, and it used to be crazy. We would get 2 quick fouls on Steph, and
yeah,
and have a good game. We would beat them.
yeah.
But when they got Iguodala, it freed Steph up, it freed Clay up to play off the ball more, and that's where the offense took. See, people forget that that's where the offense turned into the offense. They were able
Okay.
to fly around because like Steph is so good. Like once he gives up the ball, that's when the play starts. When you're prepping for them, that's how you tell your guys. Just like he's dangerous with the ball. Yeah, he got a nice handle. His people forget about his ability to finish. People
Yes,
the layups
yes,
that he are incredible, but
yes.
once he gives up the ball, now like I remember doing a math equation for the guys one year when I was in Denver. Like they only averaged 10 made threes a game that year, but they averaged like 110 points or something like that. And I was
Yeah.
like, do math. That's 30 points. They're getting 80 other points. They're getting layups, they're getting free throws.
So, so yeah, I guess obviously, in NBA, whatever, but I just because I didn't understand. I'm sure it was probably some other stuff in terms of the coaching change. Obviously, that wasn't your team. We don't have to get too much of that, but I just thought because and it's funny. Everybody started talking now, but Mark Jackson said it, and people looked at him like it was crazy when he said, "This is
Who?
the." He said, "This is the best shooting backcourt ever," and it's funny how everybody trying to take credit. Mark, he said, "I'm telling you."
He knew it, and he was right. He was right.
Yep.
And back then, that's why people were. That's why if Smart Money said you try your best to free them up, so that they're not. You didn't want Steph. Steph was a really good point guard, but you didn't want him to have to make all the decisions with the ball
All
and
this,
be a traditional point. It was
yeah.
perfect with Iguodala because Iguodala was a reluctant shooter, a
Hmm.
reluctant scorer. He wanted to facilitate, so it
Right.
made sense for Dre to be the point guard, and for Draymond. Think about it. Two guys who are not
Yeah.
built to score. They
Right.
want to facilitate. It
They
put
want
them
to.
in every position.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, that was the bonus. And like when Iguodala bailed Steve Kerr out by saying, "Hey, I don't mind coming off the bench." That was even
Right.
another thing
Another,
for
yes. Yeah,
yeah.
because
So
that's when they had like that. They had a nice shooter coming off. What's the kid here from Peoria here?
Sean Livingston.
Yeah, Sean Livingston. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. When he won Mr. Basketball here at Illinois, I won Coach of the Year that same year. They had the same ceremony, and I remember my wife. I said that kid, he's going to draft. She said him. His body looked so little, and my wife said, "I want to give him my dinner right now because he looked so." I said, "He nice," but I didn't realize how at the time he was a high school kid too,
Yeah,
so he got a little bigger, but he was extremely,
I went. I went. To
extremely.
I went to the McDonald's practices to see him. That's why I went.
Okay,
It was in
yeah,
Oklahoma City. I did not want to go to Oklahoma City, but I was like, I'm going to Oklahoma City. They let me go. I said, I'm going to Oklahoma City to see him. Yay. I watched the practices. I didn't even go to the game. I just went
okay,
to the practices and got out of the joint. Hey man, he made all the passes that I don't play the video game, but he made all the passes that like you would do in the video game. You're like, because you can see everything. Everybody was involved. It was like it reminded me of LeBron. Like you play middle
okay.
pick and roll with LeBron. Like when you play middle pick and roll with most guards, there's always one guy that's not really in the play.
In the play,
He's not in the play. But when you play middle pick and roll with LeBron and Sean Livingston, everybody's a threat. So you can't relax. Like how you got a weak side tag, or you got a guy that might face guard. He's not going to help. No, when you play middle pick and roll with those guys, everybody's involved. Sean hit like everybody was hitting the baseline drift. Everybody was hitting the corner pass. He was hitting the guy on the 45, going away from him. Bow. I mean, hit him like this, yeah. Like
Now, did those guys? Because obviously, if it's a McDonald's game, they haven't played each other. Did those guys was he catching some guys off guard with the passes?
the legend was already out there to stay ready. So
Okay,
he caught one or two early, but for the most part, and I think was Corey Brewer in that game. Boy, Corey might have been in that game too, in that McDonald's game. But all I know is Sean was in the practices. Man, he was hitting people. I mean, he was hitting people that was like it was amazing. He was catching the roller late, like he would come off and because he's a mid ranger, he would get to that mid range and kind of sit there and let it breathe. And by the time the guy would finish, he was catching the roller with flat feet. It was sweet. I mean,
wow,
Sean was the truth. One of my faves. I'm a fan.
yeah. Hey man, this is absolutely insane, y'all. Because listen, this this brother here, and I'm gonna tell you, you are now witnessing a first, and I'm gonna tell you what that is. This is gonna be the first of all my 42 podcasts. We're gonna have a part two
Nothing like a sequel.
because what I'm not gonna do is cheat this and cheat because the back end of what we're talking about is gonna be a little more serious. Well, not that this is not serious. We still got some more hoops to talk about because I'm gonna give a quick preview. Carl left. He was working with Brian Shaw, became coach. Then Brian Shaw, then Melvin became an interim coach, and he did so much other stuff. He became it's so much more. I'm just teasing a little bit. His stint with Dallas and Atlanta Hawks is more. And like I said, I can't. I said I'm not going to rush through this because there are some other points of things we have to do. Now, y'all don't know because this is pre-recorded, but I'm gonna tell you. So when it's uploaded, both gonna be uploaded at the same time. Or I might tease it with how 50 be doing power.
Yeah.
Be doing that. But listen, y'all, we gonna. In fact, we shooting part two this week. Listen, this brother again. The part two part. Well, I ain't gonna say because y'all probably watched the part two first. But there is some more hoops and some more other things that's regarding hoops that's social, and I want you guys to understand what Yeshua can do, what Emmanuel can do, what the Prince of Peace can do. Um, because it just like I say, and also I just want to talk about how, like when the word said in Jeremiah, I knew thee when you was in your mother's belly,
Mhm.
and this is it's ironic how this came to be just this friendship, and also I'm gonna bring about the person who merged this friendship, and we're gonna talk about this brother. So listen, Mel, I told you when we're gonna do the part two. If the same time works for you, are you free to? Okay,
We'll make it happen.
yeah. So this is part one. This is part one, and the name of this is like a man and a coach you should know, Melvin Hunt. So yeah, that's the name of it, bro. And part two's coming up. Much love to y'all. Much tell the fam what's up, and y'all like always, I'm gonna see you when I see you. You know what it is, Mel.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Holla.
All right, later, man.
Yeah. So yeah, y'all, this is what it is. So we're gonna do part two. Much love to y'all. It's awesome. It's so much more. Definitely, definitely. I know this is long. This is definitely my longest one, but I do not care. We only here for a little while. We only here for a little while. So I don't want to hold, people say, AI just say, I'm gonna leave nothing on the court. It's the same thing. I don't want to leave nothing. I want to empty my chamber. And I just think this is someone, not necessarily if you're an aspiring coach, just as a man, a father, a believer, and there's a lot more we got. So y'all know what it is. Like I always say, I see you. I guess probably when I see you. Y'all know what it is. Much love to y'all. Hey man, do be nice to somebody. Holla.
Things going on in the world today. Every time Dick and Harry got something to say, but what they said ain't got no fabric to it. Yay takes and thoughts with dice right through it. It's all about rumors and people feuding. If we're not uplifting, then what we doing? Yeah, they love the culture, yet they trying to wreck it. But are we ready to go hard to protect it? If we don't stand firm, then we're sure to fall. Are you ready to fight the stain and accept the call? Or it's all about dealerships and the mall? Now I'm ready to go for broke like Apostle Paul. I'm charged with the task to keep it real. Moving straight forward, not about to yield. Tackling every subject, yeah, you know the drill. R.I.P. Guru, I bring that mass appeal. Our ancestors stood tall despite abuse. We got